build this. What percentage of your scrub down do you have scrubbers?
35.
Is the verdict out in your opinion whether it was worth it compared
But
to?
it's definitely worth it. They pay back 2 years.
Okay, wow.
The only problem was that we have to ship it.
Yeah.
As an investment, I should get it.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah,
Good. Ready?
There's a huge.
they generate $50 million a year. That has been quite
I think they have been ready for a while now.
going forward.
They're okay. They'll be fine.
Invest in a scrubber going forward. Not so sure actually.
It's a hard one.
Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah, so the thing is, what we want to do is just wait and see how what the difference in price would be between low sulfur and high sulfur. It's a lot of
Words.
Tell me from a customer point, if you have the scrubber, how do they factor for the
So we do all of it, so don't touch that.
Oh, you don't do any?
We run the ship, so there's nobody asking us.
But if you do any voyage, then how do you take cover? Like say for example, your version
Seaways.
okay, you do sea. And probably paper, you do it all too?
No. A little bit more than we did then, but we do so good.
That's interesting. So on COAs, can you go out a few years or can you go out just maybe a year or so?
We cannot, well, surely we could be more aggressive. We can short term, we can do 100% coverage.
I didn't think I should. Maybe the manual,
We
yeah.
will always be long.
Ships.
Maybe we can do some paper. That's still
Yeah, that's not, that always trades at a distance.
263 ships in paper. It's going to take a little bit of time.
No, definitely.
But we are not like Morton and others. They are a lot more active than we are.
Okay, I think I've got 100.
Paper market.
Perfect. As long as they add up.
So that's interesting. So I wondered,
The unused scores will be allocated as I
is this a
see
different
fit.
strategy that they're applying by involving the paper, or are they
It
overcoming?
could be the wild card. The
Because if
judging.
you don't, I'm pleased to hear you
Hybrid?
don't. That means
You're six,
whatever you're doing.
I think they actually, they probably more, which I think maybe we could learn a little bit more, so hedging a little bit more and then have a little bit more optionality. They probably take some time scholarships with 3 option 1 year, option 1 year, and so on.
We got your
Then
post.
maybe they hedge
We got your post.
beginning of it at break even and then they
Post for the camera.
hope for the option.
I think I'll do
That's
yours.
how that goes.
If you do one, I'll do
Also
one.
short
I'll
term.
do two.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I mean
Do
that's
four.
why you're 4 might be a bit of a stretch for me.
If you can do that efficiently, then maybe it's
Or the other, it's like a separate profit center. And what they do is that they'll look for arbitrage between other physical.
yes. But you can say if you took a ship, let's say for 2 years option 1 year, and you hedge the 2 years, and you have 1 year option, then you can take another ship again for 2 option 1 year, and then you can.
Funny, it reminds me of the Starbucks mug from the Game of Thrones.
So I think the margins are quite small.
Oh my god, that was.
Those things that shouldn't be on the table.
I think they do that. So we do it a little bit too if we want to have quick coverage.
Yeah.
In the next 6 months, we do it. Not very much.
It's good to have, did you personally at that time look at questions, or did you give this to someone like Logan?
I actually asked somebody to do this for me, and I hear you should go for this one and this one, and then so he ranked them.
Oh, nice. You've
More, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, so what I did, I sat with our technical director, and I said, so basically like, here, one more pickle, and then I've got 1 or 2 questions. But I didn't, this is the rating one, so what I'll do is,
Try to do it.
yeah, see how it's Thank you. Last it was tough for you. Do you remember?
I was in Vancouver, I think. Yeah.
You did great. You did good.
Right.
Okay, it's getting a bit more crowded.
I always get nervous that we didn't get this recorded. This one is no. We'll improvise.
It was so early last year, and I said, yeah, of course I will. Now it's all caught up with me. How are you, Beto? Good.
How are you? Yeah? Relaxed? Is Subi coming today?
No, he's in India. Yeah, he's went to see his old dad.
Okay.
92-year-old dad. He hasn't seen him for 3 years, so
How do you pronounce
He's such a great guy.
he's
Yeah.
amazing guy.
Such a big fan.
I think that's what you said yesterday. I was paying attention.
I find his, his
And Bidetch, because that was another one. I was like, how are you? Is it bit
culture.
Bidetch?
Nice.
It is Bidetch.
He's a really great asset.
This is small. Do you know there's this thing called the radio
But
test?
it is kind of a unusual role.
People
Yes, it's a little bit more than something.
and they can't spell it out, and then it's not a good, generally not a good name to use a radio
I
test.
think it's amazing how a number of these guys.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Company for many years, they've been in different positions. You know, you can ask them about this or that. They can really answer most questions.
Or someone brings some hardware and it helps that.
I find, so I've been more out of the
Bidetch is also hard.
Other sensors.
but at least what I've seen in the last, say, 2 years, is that it's really
Demo would be
created
great.
itself and its own culture and grown in Hong Kong.
Yeah, that would be great, yeah.
And, I'd say everything was against it to do it. It's just somehow,
Managed to do it.
so I'm impressed.
No, it's I can say I'm impressed as well because it's fairly new.
Yeah, so how long have you been with them?
21.
That's like, you're literally fresh off the
Fresh.
Still,
Now the market's tough.
Yeah. now the tough gets going.
Now you really have to do something else. So.
Yeah. Hey, but congrats on all those ones.
Yes, thank you.
That was a big acquisition.
Let's see if it's the right price, but at least good shit.
Yeah. But was it more to, okay, we believe in it versus we have to spend the money? Like you could either dividend, you could have done it all differently. You could have got new buildings.
I think it was more saying we sold these ones in the ships and we sold it during the year. We sort of spread it out so we could getting a little bit then it's actually, getting 6 ships, that's quality at that price without having to buy one and all that. But difficult.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's a
We
good
thought the price was good.
Yeah.
So I think it can become cheap. I'm not so sure there's so many ships for sale. Good quality
Yeah,
ships.
good quality tonnage is not bad.
So I think when the chances are there, prices are fair. Probably need to go for it.
Yeah.
And then I'm actually okay. I'm actually still very positive. I still feel we're going in the right direction. We just have to get over that.
Yes.
And let's see. And if it comes down to it,
Yeah, that's the thing. So like I'm also looking at our balance sheet. And, so we also do forecasting. If the market remains in the low teens, then that to me is a bad situation. You need definitely 60,000, 70,000.
Yeah, too bad. Good sector.
Yeah.
Should it be?
These are your questions that you
These are questions from some of the people that do it.
Very impressive.
Do you know what your break-even is?
So Syrian is like really worried that we run out of questions. We run out of questions. So you gotta ask all the questions. Okay, cool.
That's questions.
But I look at your list now. I say we'll never run out of questions.
I was focusing on this Bidex because I'm the one who's going to be the lead questionnaire on this one. I have some questions for yours as well, but this is one of my sort make sure I have enough questions for that.
I take on water it would be about 34.
So these guys are so nice to me. They even gave me like an appendix to ask all the questions that I've prepared. Can you share how would you scale?
When I say that, maybe
Unless they cover it in their pitch, it's more on you to ask. And
it's a little different.
Yeah, true.
you have these questions as well.
Probably around have 11 and a half, and then only have 1.
Yeah.
That's a generic. Can't ask this. Those are like fails.
We gotta mix it up.
Someone needs to ask them.
Okay, you ask them.
If they don't get answered,
If I struggle, then you just help me.
tell me about your competitor. Or you
Yes.
see. It depends on you.
Give me a 2x2 matrix.
Please tell me you're not in the top right corner. As well.
You know, if that's a bad deal, hey, I'm fine.
It's true. So let's see how it all pans out.
So many things can happen.
Yeah.
You feel there's a little bit more positive.
Yeah.
Not in the spot market.
Sentiment.
You're way more better.
So we do rolling 12 months, and we've got about 50% cover. Just not.
It's actually good with strategy. Big brain
Yeah.
will sort of say,
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, and there's always such a big toss-up between taking the money up front versus going longer and taking a big discount. So I think we're a bit more, take what's on the table
yeah.
rather than take a heavy discount.
That's also been our strategy, especially last year, saying, what they ask for doing let's just take it.
So we're doing like 6 months, about 35,000. I was like, no, I'll definitely take that. Let's worry about tomorrow when it comes.
So who's going to be Simon Cowell? What absolute rubbish!
I believe I see the energy coming from the side.
Dude,
You play
you have
really
to
well.
ask.
You play
If you
really
have to
well.
ask, that means none of us.
It didn't even come to my head.
This is the worst performance I've seen in the past 7 years.
we also need like a Gordon Ramsay.
And we need a golden buzzer.
That would be really funny.
We need rather an air horn, keep with the theme. It would be better.
Please stop now.
An anchor.
Yeah, I think
cake was just this year. But I think we saw them last year. So we saw a couple of them last year. So I know some of them. Yeah, so we passed them. The ones we saw we passed. This didn't think they were tackling the right market. I think the few of them that I haven't seen, a lot of them.
Yeah, yeah, no, no. Yeah, that it's hard. I don't do a tough on the insurance. And
I thought Clearbottom was really interesting. I like it on that person.
But you know what? It's an existing product, so you've got to kind of test the waters to see, how well do they know it. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here at the Captain's Table. It's a pleasure to see those of you here in person and also all our online viewers as well who are watching on Flash 24/7 and the World Maritime Merchant Forum website in conjunction with the China Merchant Group. So a big hello to everybody there. So where are we in 2023? The pandemic has propelled investment in maritime technology, innovation, and startups close to $2 billion, and this was by the end of 2022. At the same time, we've seen maritime-focused venture funds like Motion Ventures in Singapore, the Dock in Israel, and Flagship Founders in Germany and TNB in New York spring up in the last 3 years. If we ask ourselves why, it's because the pandemic has refocused attention on the importance of having a resilient supply chain supported by good systems, processes, and a happy crew. Regulations, particularly in the safety and the ESG space, are also forcing businesses and business owners to relook at their responsibilities towards the future and how their business models must evolve to meet these requirements.
Thank you, Tabitha. And before I start on my section, I just want to say, isn't it great that Hong Kong is open? Yeah. And we're finally able to travel almost freely to Hong Kong. Yeah. The last time I was in Hong Kong was in October 2020, and I must admit that arriving in Hong Kong on Saturday really felt like a homecoming for me. So, being able to be here in front of all of you today is really very special for me. And also being able to stand next to my partner in crime, Tabitha. So Tabitha gave an introduction to where the maritime innovation system and ecosystem is. What role does the Captain's Table have to play in all of this? In our view, we feel that we have played a really, really important role in facilitating thought leadership in this space and introducing solution providers to business leaders. As one of our alumni, Nick Clark from Grey Wing, very eloquently put it, and honestly, we couldn't put it better than him, the one difference that the Captain's Table has to other accelerators and pitch competitions out there, it's the depth of industry experience in our judging panel and in the network that we bring to the startups. This not only allows startups to sell their ideas, but also provides a very good sounding board for the startups to testing the veracity of their solutions, the real intensity of the problems, and the ability to scale. Now, we could not have done this without support. And in this regard, Tabitha and I and the rest of the organizing committee at Captain's Table really want to take this time to thank our sponsors, our partners, and our alumni, some of whom are actually here with us today. Another great reason for why Hong Kong is open. And we hope to count on you for continued support. On this note, we are very, very happy to announce that we have decided on the date for Captain's Table version 5. The next installment of the Captain's Table will be held on the 16th of November, 2023. And we're saying this now because, like we say, we want to continue. We would like to rely on your continued support. So if you're interested in finding out more about how to partner with us for the next version of the Captain's Table, you know who to speak to. ESG regulations have not escaped the Captain's Table either, and this year we have partnered with Pacific Basin and CLP Innovation Enterprises to offset the carbon footprint of this event with a wind farm project in India. We thank you for your support, and here you can see the carbon credit certificate on the screen. We have 6 great finalists. Oh, thank you. And thank you to Pacific Basin and CLP for your support. Today we have with us 6 great startups, 6 great innovators, and 6 really brave people who will be pitching in front of our panel of judges this afternoon. In terms of format, each pitch will run for 5 minutes, followed by a 10-minute Q&A with the judges. We will break for an intermission at the end of the 3rd pitch. At that point in time, we will be showcasing videos. You might wonder, why do we showcase videos? We'll come to that later when we introduce the videos. At the end of the 6th pitch, there will be an audience poll and Q&A hosted by Chris O'Callaghan. Again, thank you, Chris, for your support, our long-suffering coach and mentor. The QR code for the audience poll will be shared later in the session.
All right. So to start off today's session, we would like to invite one of our long-term supporters, Mr. Benjamin Wong from Invest Hong Kong, on stage to say a few words. Ben will be very familiar to many of you here in Hong Kong, but for our overseas visitors and those online, Benjamin is head of transport infrastructure and advanced manufacturing, so he wears lots of hats at Invest Hong Kong. So Ben, over to you.
Thank you, Tabitha and Suyin. It's a very old picture, as you can see, and I should have given them a newer one. Again, thank you, YPSM, for organizing this meaningful Captain's Table competition again this year. Actually, even during the past 3 years during the pandemic, Tabitha, Suyin, actually they've been doing a fantastic job of keeping this going. So I think we should give them a round of applause. Now, throughout the years, Hong Kong is well positioned to serve as the maritime service hub for the Asia-Pacific region with our unique advantages. Hong Kong provides a range of quality and high-value added maritime services, including ship registration, agency and management, ship brokering, marine technology, marine insurance, marine legal and arbitration services, etc. The Hong Kong SAR government spares no efforts in supporting the maritime industry in Hong Kong. We are consolidating our status as an international shipping center and to implement tax concession measures to strengthen for the industry here in Hong Kong. We actively pursued the development of the smart ports to facilitate the flow and sharing of data among operators and stakeholders. All these measures are conducive to creating stronger and impetus for growth. Hong Kong, as the Asia's most vibrant city, is the ideal place to do business. We have excellent infrastructures, pro-business policies, and strategic location that make us the preferred destination for business. Besides, Hong Kong's legendary spirit of enterprise and its boundless energy creates the perfect environment for starting a business. The local startup ecosystem is supported by a strong network of incubators and accelerators, a pool of experienced angel and venture capitalists. It should come as no surprise that Hong Kong in Asia is Asia's most dynamic startup destinations, home to 18 unicorn and a very rapidly growing number of startups in the area, as diverse as what we have here: chip tech, fintech, retail tech, health tech, smart city, IoT, and many more. Invest Hong Kong is here to strengthen Hong Kong's status as the leading international business location in Asia. Our mission is to attract and retain foreign direct investments in enhancing the economic development of Hong Kong. As one of Asia's most vibrant tech hub, Hong Kong is the ideal place for startups and scale-ups. Now, last but not least, I would like to express my thanks again to organizers, as well as to all the participants. I hope you would enjoy the competition and the upcoming presentations, and that this program will help propelling the startups to success. Now, that is the end of the speech. One more minute that I think some of you already know that I'll be leaving Invest Hong Kong. Actually, I already left with a new capacity with Oasis, which is Office for Attracting Strategic Investments. So with this, actually, I will be covering a different portfolio. Then actually, I'll be seeing you in a different capacity. Again, this actually is a very tight maritime arena, which I think it is actually very sad to leave this arena. But I'm sure we'll be seeing each other very often, in your events, our events, and see you around. Happy New Year.
Thank you so much, Ben, and for the support over the years that you've given us. Now, it's not just our startups in the spotlight tonight. We also have 6 of our captains here who have the difficult task of choosing the winner. So before we kick off, I would just like to introduce our judges, who I'm sure you're very familiar with. Starting from the my right-hand side, we have Bjorn, who's the CEO of Anglo-Eastern. We have Sean Hon, partner at Motion Ventures. Priyanshi Shah from Angel Hub, startup manager there. Martin from Pacific Basin, the CEO of Pacific Basin. Gautam from KC Maritime, and Shah from Fleet. So I know some of our judges are veterans at this and have been on our panel for many years, but we also have some new faces, so we welcome them and thank them for taking part and taking the time to watch our startups today.
Yes, I think we need a louder round of applause for our judges, because they actually have a really, really tough job. Thank you. Now that we know who our judges are, it's time to introduce our 6 finalists and their representatives. I really want to say that these startups have all been fully prepped and put in a lot of hard work over the last 2.5 days, some of them having to combat jet lag as well as harsh feedback from Chris O'Callaghan, their coach. So, but I think you will see from their performance this afternoon that it's all been put to good use. And Chris, once again, it's really fantastic having you back with us in Hong Kong. He gets the longest medal. He gets the medal for the longest journey here, coming all the way from Seattle. So this year, our 6 finalists represent 6 countries and solutions across 4 verticals. They also come from very diverse backgrounds. We have really, really smart PhD holders. We have marine engineers. We have AI experts. We also have a lawyer turned serial entrepreneur and business development experts. So really very diverse background, but I would say they're all unified by their belief that they can revolutionize that maritime industry. Now, without further ado, we would like to start the events of this afternoon. So please join me in welcoming on stage our first competitor this afternoon, Byte Edge, represented by Dr. Amit Shekhar.
ByteEdge comes from US and India. It measures emissions in real time and uses machine learning and AI for predicting efficiency of engines.
Is the mic on? Can you hear it? Hello? Yeah. Thank you for the introduction. I have a question here for you guys. Do you guys know the emissions that are coming out from your vessels in actuality or not? I am Dr. Amit Shekhar. I am the founder and CEO of ByteEdge. It's been, for the last few years, you see a lot of regulations that are coming through right now, pushing hard on improving sustainability and reducing carbon emissions, right? And there is now a EU push to make sure there's a carbon tax that's going to happen, which makes it imperative to measure your emissions in real time and in actuality as well. The reality is that there is a computation that happens with the numerical formula, but that does not account for the size of the ship, the type of the engine, the weather conditions, the speed, and so on and so forth, right? So what do you do? So we have a solution right now where we use an IoT device that looks at the gases that are coming out from the exhaust of the turbocharger. We analyze those gases and present it back to the dashboard. And those could be like SOx, NOx, methane, and so on and so forth, like sulfur dioxide as well. Now that's not where we stop. In addition to presenting the gases on the dashboard, in the ship, and also on the cloud, we take it to the next level by ingesting the data from the engine, the data from the weather. Combining the two and pushing through machine learning based algorithms, we're able to predict the efficiency of the engine as well and forecast your predictions going forward. All those can be used to eventually optimize your journey as well and reduce your carbon dioxide emissions. Here is just a quick picture of the analyzer that sits on the engine room, and then obviously that analyzes the gases and presents it back. This is a quick video of a real situation where the analyzer is working and it's looking at the gases coming out from the exhaust and presenting it on the dashboard. Once that is through, we not only just present the gases, we also do the reporting. This report, what you're seeing right now, shows the difference between what is theoretically calculated in terms of emissions and what is exactly coming out. And you see the difference. And that is where the journey starts. That is where you start to figure out what to do next in order to reduce those emissions. So why us? The question is why ByteEdge? So ByteEdge started its journey about 4 years back with supply chain and logistics sector, where we have today over 25,000 vehicles on a platform where we put in IoT devices and we are measuring the overall behavior of the vehicle, the data that comes out from the engine. And then we are using machine learning based algorithms to operationalize that, reduce the operating cost, and also help improve the health of the vehicle, which net gives me lower emissions as well. And that's why it's us. Now for us, it's a perfect segue into using the same technology, same platform, and getting into the marine side. So there are three things, which you have to take away. First, we have the device that measures at a lower cost directly from the turbocharger's exhaust. That is one part, which is the monitoring part of it. The second is we have the algorithms and the platform to not only look at that, but look at your engine and eventually forecast the efficiency, which is again very important. The efficiency of the engine drives how much emission is going to produce. And also the prediction, today I have an efficiency, but that efficiency can go down over time, 6 months, 12 months, a year. Can I predict that? So we have algorithms for that, okay? And that eventually leads to optimization. So where are we right now in this journey with maritime? We have a pilot going on. We have 3 more discussions going on from a paid pilot perspective. It's a SaaS-based solution on the cloud. There's a one-time cost for the device, and then there's a monthly cost per ship. Not a whole lot. So what's the market size? The market size is huge. But what we're going to do is, we've actually said, let's focus on only the 1,000 GT weight ships, and that amounts to about 53% of the total 103,000 vessels that you see floating today. And if I take only 10% of that, and with the revenue, we get a starting good revenue of about $71 million. The market is huge, but what we are talking about is taking a small piece. So why again, the question comes back, who are we? So this is the team that founded this company 4 years back, me, Kaushik, and Manjusha. And we are guided by some really, really good guys, Anurag and Marcel, who have been kind enough to guide us through this journey. So what's our ask here? Ask is simple, twofold. One is we need partners to come on board with us and see the solution and take this journey with us to optimize and improve your sustainability. And second is money for us to do the R&D to take it to the next level and grow with us. Thank you guys. That's all I have. Here to take questions.
So I think we've got time, about 10 minutes for questions, captains.
Okay. Can I start, Amit?
Sure.
I thought it was an excellent presentation. Thank you very much. You identified clearly the issue of emissions and the need to correctly calculate and analyze the actual emissions. Now, the emissions monitoring and calculation of CO2 and the other gases are based on IMO regulations and other regulations like EU and UK MRV. Is your method acceptable to fulfill or substitute the requirements as per the regulations? And what have you done to meet the statutory requirements?
So the method is absolutely fine because we've been doing it for other verticals as well. I think we need partners to kind of validate those things, and that's where we are right now. And that's why we're looking for people to come on board with us, The device is there. We can see the emissions coming out clearly, and we are presenting it. We just need to make sure that it's in the right thing. And we are capturing all the gases, if one of the things,
Yeah. On, I think it was your slide 6, you showed the differences between measured and theoretical emissions. And on that slide, the measured emissions were higher than the theoretical emissions.
Yes.
By using your measured solution, will ship owners end up reporting higher emissions and through that pay more than if they use the calculations?
I think a very good point and observation as well. See, I think you'll have both the things, In certain situations, your emissions is going to come out. The real emissions will be lower than the theoretical. In some cases, it's more. If it's more, then it gives you it gives you an opportunity to look at what's going on with your efficiency. What are the gases coming out? What is the fuel that you're using? And probably, what RPMs you're driving at. And that's where the opportunity is. So that's where the prescription comes into the picture.
Can I do one more, guys?
Our job is to present the numbers to you.
So I just want to ask, when you had your phases, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, where do you see the biggest potential in the long run? I mean, I understand you want to start with phase 1 and then evolve to phase 2 and then ultimately phase 3. But will ship owners be able to make a reasonable return on investment on phase 1 alone, or does it require a move into phase 2 and phase 3?
So the phase 1 is critical, and that's where the ship owners should see the advantage itself. You don't have to go to phase 2, because if I'm giving you the actual emissions, then you need to make an action to reduce those emissions, whether you are above the theoretical or below the theoretical. Right? And that's where you should see an advantage. The second level is a little bit further along, in terms of advantages. Hope that answers,
Hi. Yeah, very good pitch to Dr. Amit. My question is, what's your view on who else in the sector is doing something similar? So who are your competitors? And another part to the question, what's the difference between your solution and what the competitors are doing?
Perfect. So there are few players. I'm not aware of all, I'll tell you. I'll just be frank, okay? There are few players. But one is, they are working off the stack. We are working right next to the turbocharger exit, okay? That is one difference. The price, there's a price difference, And our focus right now is to get you where you can start monitoring it real time. The difference is, once we have that in place, the device in place, we can start to work on the second phase, which is looking at the efficiency of the engine. Okay? And then the third is using predictive analytics, which is using the algorithms, which we've already built and validated for another vertical, which will work here as well. And that's the biggest differentiation. We want to hopefully reduce the operating cost and improve the efficiency of the engine, which can, help you reduce your cost, emissions, basically.
Okay, and just one follow-up. What challenges do you see in deploying your solution in the maritime space compared to the other verticals you described that you're already in?
I think the challenge what I'm seeing is, the long cycles, the conversations. It's been a little bit tough. But I also see that there is an interest in people, because as it's becoming mandatory from an implementation, from an emissions monitoring perspective, hopefully that will come down with the things like we are saying in terms of the dates that are happening, as you're getting closer to the dates, So it's both,
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Amit, for the pitch. I actually had a question in terms of your traction so far. What have the response been in terms of any POCs that you've conducted? And a follow-up would be, what is your distribution channel moving forward? Are you looking to directly speak to fleet fleet owners, or do you have, a step up? Are you going up in the value chain, speaking directly to manufacturers to retrofit your product?
So right now, I would say, I think the second part of the question was, who we are reaching out to. So we are reaching out to fleet managers and the owners. That's where we're getting started. We are not reaching out to the manufacturers right now. But in a bigger realm of things, when I see that I have, let's say, 1,000 ships and 50% comes from man, for example, then that will be a perfect segue to go to them as well and say, hey, retrofit this, And obviously for them, it's a good solution, because then they can start to test their engines beforehand with all the data that's been collected across all the voyages, across all the weather conditions, and so on and so forth. So that is the power of this. I'm not sure. Did I answer your first part of the question?
No. So in terms of traction so far, can you share any information on that?
So it's traction. Basically, we are right now currently doing one live testing that is going on for a year right now, and we're talking to 3 other people that's in various stages in terms of setting up the engines. That's where it is. Or the ships, I see.
Okay, thanks.
Need more traction.
Hi, Amit. Is this working? Great presentation. My question is, apart from the dashboard information to the users or ship owners on emissions, can you please elaborate with an example of how the device will project and forecast data?
How the device would?
Will project and forecast data.
Okay. So for instance, you understand the device is going to be fitted and it's going to get the emissions, right?
Correct.
And I have the voyage information, I have the sea conditions, okay? I can take that, look at my historical data, okay? I can figure out what my next 6 months weather is going to be based on last year's data, for instance, right? I can look at my engine, how it performed for the voyages for different RPMs and different fuels and different cargo. All those things will be fed into the ML engine, which will start to predict. So there is the forecasting part, there is the statistical analysis part, that is the first part, and then second is the forecasting, and which will then lead me into the emissions part of forecasting and the engine efficiency.
And have you tested the accuracy of the data that's being forecasted in any example?
Yes.
In the other industries.
Yeah. So for instance, in the automotive industry and the supply chain industry, we've tested it. We get a pretty good accuracy, about 92-94%. It's driven by the amount of data. Okay, but that's the efficiency or the accuracy we're getting it right now. In some cases, we start at 80%, but then as the data feeds in, as the engine becomes a little bit more intelligent, we get about 94%. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We've got time for one more question.
I was just going to ask about this route optimization. I mean, for me, route optimization is choosing the right legs in the voyage and taking advantage of currents and weathers and fronts and stuff like that. I suppose your solution will not help with that, but it will help identify how well the machinery is running on that voyage. So it's rather a machinery optimization than a route or voyage optimization. Am I right?
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. See, the key part is to measure the efficiency of the engine today and then predict the efficiency as going to go forward. And you fix things today so that the emissions goes down in future as well. Now, this will also give you some sort of a prescription in terms of what speed to take. Okay, I'm not going to really go in details on the optimization part because there are a number of players in that. We can potentially use a third party as well there. Okay, I'd rather focus on my machine learning capabilities, AI, to do the prediction so that the action is taken today. I'd focus on that. Yeah.
Sean, did you have a quick question? We've got time for a quick question if there is one.
100%. It's always quick. Dr. Ahmed, thank you so much for the presentation. I really appreciate that. I think I really love that you drew analogy to the logistics sector. And I think I love that you broke it down to phases. So the question that I have is, I think it's true for a lot of people's mind right here. How long does it take to go from one phase to another? And when do they start seeing like real changes or savings, like whether it's fuel consumption or fleet management? Could you just give like people a flavor of that, please?
So to answer, the first phase is the day you install it, and you get the data right away. You don't have to wait. The moment I get the data from emissions perspective, and if I'm able to get the data from the engine, you can start to see the prediction. The predictions is not going to be accurate enough, but it'll give you enough for us, food for us to go forward as well. And the engine becomes, quickly intelligent as you get more and more data.
Timeline?
So see, the first phase you can achieve within day 0, pretty much. Day 1, I will call it. Day 0, I'm calling implementation. Day 1 is when you'll see the data coming in. Okay, and let's say, for example, it'll take me another few days to get the engine data. Then day 6, 7, you can actually see the algorithms to start working. Now, how that algorithm is going to be in terms of the accuracy, that's going to take a little bit of time. I'll hit, let's say, 80% right away. But to get to, let's say, about 99%, it'll take me 3 to 6 months' time. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Very good. That's it, I'm afraid, for time for questions for Amit for now. I'm sure there'll be an opportunity later. Again, let's have a round of applause for our first finalist.
Thank you.
Good job, mate.
All right, thank you, Dr. Shekhar. Staying on with the theme of regulations, efficiencies, and risk management, please welcome on stage our second competitor this afternoon, MUA, represented by Ms. Yoon-Sil Chu.
More Singapore is a simple, smart search engine that gathers all shipping regulation to verify that the cargo can be moved internationally, it is legal and safe.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chu Yan-sil, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of MUA. MUA is a Korean word that means gathering, and we have created a smart search engine that matches cargo content to international shipping regulations. So let's start with a problem. We rely on shippers' voluntary declaration to say that their items are illegal or dangerous to start our compliance screening. But who ensures that they're correct? We're exposing ourselves to risks like legal liability, that due diligence is not properly conducted, operational delays when these items are found, and of course, serious fire hazard, where one cargo ship fire catches every 2 weeks. So let's put that in real life figures. So this is the survey that was conducted by NCV, and it's revealed that 55% of containers among 800 that they have opened for inspection were non-compliant, 10% carried dangerous goods, and 43% of dangerous goods containers were unsafely secured and improperly labeled. So So we have created a solution whereby just taking a cargo item description, we can return you these informations that are for applicable trade and safety regulations. Today, we'll focus on the dangerous goods regulations and the import restrictions to find illegal goods.
It's all right. I'll stand here.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so this is our DG solution. So our competitors and the current practice today is that they're using a keyword match to find the DGs, so finding the usual suspects, but that's unrealistic because DG regulations are written with chemical substance names, and they are not matched with the commercial names that are declared inside the cargo shipments. We have gathered billions of data sets of real-life products and their chemical components, and we match them by predicting the chemical components inside and the DG regulations that are in effect. Then the next problem occurs where a competitor has found 160,000 suspicious DG cases, and that just means that you have to now hire more officers to open for more inspection. We're the industry's first to create a scoring system to identify the super dangerous items based on things like the probability of the chemicals that are found, the fire safety ratings that are provided by government agencies, and the chemical properties like auto-ignition points and the flash points. So,
sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, the next slide. Okay, so this is what it looks like in our platform. So now we have searched for paint thinner, and this is all that we require to match the IMDG. And this has returned score of 290,000. We have run through DG scores or 250,000 real-life products and discovered that a range of scores that you see in the line chart here, that above 80,000 is considered high alert. Then we move on to the import regulations. So import regulations mainly revolve around the HS codes, and we provide you with the network graph visuals to easily navigate through the applicable HS restrictions. So as you see, for example, battery for Australia. And we understand now that there are many sanctioned countries regulations and specific affected country regulation. Example of meat import in the US, where we provide you this data easily for export and easily filtered by parameters that you look for. Our business model is very simple. We are a pay-per-use. Our credit is purchased per search bait per cargo shipment at 75 USD starting. And our business model in twofold. So one, we have web application for SaaS, which is targeted for frequent shippers like large manufacturing companies with limited compliance department resources. We have an API integration with larger volume use like logistic providers, where you can screen millions of documents at once, and we return you the ones that are super highly alerted for illegal or dangerous items. So what are the benefits of using us? So first and foremost, now you can find the hidden DGs and the illegal items on board. Although we are compliance software, you can also generate revenue because now you can collect the DG handling fees for the ones that were not previously declared. You can also use this as an extended added-on administrative service for the shippers. And of course, no more spending hours looking through documents or finding needle in the haystack. So this is our team. So I'm a licensed attorney in New York, and after working in a shipping law firm, discovered that shipping regulations are necessary to follow, but humanly impossible. So Josiah and Giovanni has joined us since 2019 to create what we have today. And one of our biggest achievements is having 21 engineers from top universities in Singapore and receiving government grants from MPA Singapore and winning government contract from Cornucopia. Currently, we have conducted pilots for UPS and 3 other MNCs, which is totaling up to about 100,000 shipments per screening per month in pipeline. So that is the end of our presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jan-Sil, and well navigated through a few technical challenges. Judges, Captain Sim, 10 minutes of questions, please.
Thank you, Jan-Sil. You definitely navigated the hiccups very well and hopefully, ended it on a strong note. So thank you so much first for the pitch. I absolutely really like the name as well and what it meant for your heritage as well. Starting off, I actually wanted to understand, as you mentioned, you are collating so much data, collating so many databases together. How long did it take to build the product? From scratch, and is everything built proprietary or in-house?
That's a great question. So actually, in fact, our company was started late 2019. 2020, we were mostly involved with a government contract. It took us actually a year and a half to make this product because we deal with regulations in 79 countries around the world. Our regulations are updated daily, including all the EU chemical import regulations like REACH. So it took us a year and a half to develop. Once it was developed and ready to deploy, we started receiving tractions pretty fast because for one reason that there's no other software out there that gathers these regulatory database. What you mentioned about the proprietary, so of course regulations are public information, so we don't own that. But what we do is one is matching. So as mentioned, even for let's say EU chemical, like REACH, when we look at REACH, these are all CAS number, HS codes, chemical names. And in real life, when shippers declare items, they don't do that. They don't know these. So we have a matching algorithm based on the actual chemical composition and where do they actually come from, or now it's voluntary if you have any hazardous substance by the EPA or consumer product protection laws, you have to declare these chemicals. So we actually get them through legitimate voluntary declaration sources.
Okay. And in terms of product development moving forward, what kind of features or data are you planning to add to enhance this solution?
Yes, so there are two things. So one is increasing our coverage of data, our regulations. So the ones that we're looking at are, so import restrictions, we've gone as far as we can go. DG, they're only UNHC, IATA, and IMDG. So the chemicals, we are extensively looking at EU import restrictions, and for generally for other countries. So another database we are currently looking at is import data, the import duty rates. So import duty rates is actually very complicated. You got like the FTAs, the national tariffs line, which become very difficult, and you're paying basically more import taxes than you should. So these are the areas that we look at. Second is the accuracy of, so having more, so currently our accuracy level, if that question comes, is about 70 to 80%. And the rest of 20% is not necessarily because we are not able to catch them, but it's because there are different standards that are being used. So IMDG is an international standard. There are certain country-specific preferences in declaring certain DGs that are more prioritized. So these are the gaps that are looking to fill.
Okay. Maybe just a final note. I would clarify that all the updates that you're happening daily is automated.
Yes, automated. 12 a.m.
automated.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
My turn. Yeah. Is it working?
Yep.
Okay, very good presentation, very interesting. Could you explain me a little bit so we've been touching lots of things, compliance, safety, duties. What is it, what's the value proposition for the customer? What is it you're selling? Why would they buy it?
Right, so the first value proposition is that you don't want to do anything illegal. It's illegal to declare wrong HS codes. It's illegal to not declare something as a DG. It's illegal to import something that is banned for import. So first is compliance. You don't want to get into trouble. Second is, there are a lot of custom brokers, right, or freight forwarding agents who would advise you what are the UN ID codes or CAS ID codes to declare. And these do affect, as mentioned, the duty rates and the ease of the the routes that you're going to take to import these items. So it's advisory plus the compliance part, and we are looking to also not exactly replace the jobs of these agents, but also to help them to provide an easy to match database. So actually, if you were to put battery, for instance, and then look for the applicable duty rates for that particular item, we'll give you about 4 to 6 different range, and that's something that shippers can make decision on.
And can you just explain the 75 cents per whatever it was?
Per search.
How did you get to that?
So, great question. So, as mentioned, it took us 1.5 years to build this with our 21 engineers. So there were definitely costs that are involved. There are costs involved with making sure that our database updated. Of course, government do not necessarily release regulation in a very structured, easy to use format, right? So there's a lot of cleaning up that we need to do. So these are the costs that are involved for doing that.
So it's based on your cost. It's not what value it brings to the.
Oh, and absolutely. So the
why not $1.50?
Well, we find that that's a reasonable cost, bearing in mind the volume that typically.
Can I ask? First of all, I think on your benefits page, I think you missed the best benefit and the most important benefit, and that is to avoid, fires and other casualties on board. Saving the lives of seafarers and saving ships from total losses, which you've seen a lot. And I actually think that you should test this out on some of the big fires container ships have had in recent years and see if you would have been able to find those undeclared DG containers that caused those fires. I think that would be a great use case. I think it's very clever, it's very creative, and it's connecting the dots between regulations and screening all these papers and using smart intelligence to come up with the hidden DG on board. But what in your solution is the special gold that makes it difficult to copy or replicate by someone else? What is it that you have done that is so special that someone can come in here and outcompete you with a similar product?
Yes. Very great question. So I think honestly our secret sauce is in the scoring system because, as mentioned, NCB showed 55%. So actually when we do run through pilots with these companies, we actually find more than majority containing DGs because we're now having so many consumer industrial products are very hazardous, right? So what we don't want our customers to do by using us, they have to hire more. And in the end, it's not exactly cost saving. So we have implemented a scoring system, and the number comes from the probability that certain chemicals will be present in that item, the chemical properties, like at which point it will start catching fire, the auto-ignition points, and also IMDG, UNEC, IATA, they provide the danger levels. They have low, medium, high packing, and then they have forbidden exempted quantity limits. So we put all of that together, compute into a number, so that you can actually set, it doesn't have to be 80,000. We mentioned 80,000 because that's the number we generally got by screening 250K of products, but you can set it at 40 or 100,000. Just a number that so you like to see only the top 5 super dangerous items and not spending more time than you require.
Thank you. Thank you, Yunsil, for the presentation. My question here, I'd like to understand a little bit more on your rationale behind how this all started. So I'd love to understand why you pick dangerous goods. Is it because of something you have like an experience in? Is it because a client has asked for it? Like, what is that sort of rationale behind picking dangerous goods?
Okay, so we are based in Singapore, and I think recently there was a Singapore fire that happened with the dangerous goods. So we were following a lot of accidents that were happening at sea, and it is true that there is small or a big fire that's happening every 2 weeks, and all of them 96% due to the misdeclared dangerous goods is not properly packed. And increasingly, there are reports that there will be even more dangerous chemicals, dangerous goods that are going to be shipped, so it's going to be very scalable. And the biggest problem is the mismatch of the item name and the substance name. No one is going to know when they put it paint thinner, that ethanol, methanol, like no shipper would actually write all of those down. And that's why it's not being caught. And just using a keyword match as like finding the usual suspects is never going to be as accurate. So we found that there's a niche that we can target to solve, and we are able to solve them.
Maybe a quick
Got time for one more.
Martin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I? It was just so who's your target customer?
Yes, so our target customers, so we actually deal with transport, anything that's internationally shipped. So we have customers who are in air freight, so for consolidating. We also have customer in container shipping. We also have customers who are advisory, like commodity brokers, freight forwarding agents. One other area customer segment is a large manufacturing company. So recently spoke to a listed company that manufactures lead batteries around the world, and they only have 2 compliance officers. They're shipping to 50 different countries. So these are more, as mentioned, the frequent shippers who use it as more like a SaaS product.
Have you tried the insurance companies?
We're trying to reach out to them, so hopefully that we will have conversation with them in the future.
Very good. Yunsil, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Yunsil. And I know there's some insurers in the room today, so this is your chance to speak to Yunsil to understand how she can help you manage your danger goods risks. So our third competitor and final one before the break is from Hong Kong, Clearbot, represented by Sammy Sriram. Nelly?
Clearbot, Hong Kong, makes electric artificial intelligence autonomous boats for a greener future.
That's the end.
There we go.
Okay, while we're sorting that out, just wanted to kind of thank you guys for being here. It's so nice to actually be physically present, especially in Hong Kong, without doing 21 days quarantine. So it's amazing to see you all. So hi, I'm Samyukta. I hope you guys can hear me. I am representing Clearbot, which is a Hong Kong-based startup. And at Clearbot, we build artificially intelligent electric boats for the marine industry.
So with ClearBot, our bet is that with the changing maritime regulations and norms, our bet is that the future of the marine services is electric and autonomous. And with ClearBot, we are building the technology to make that possible. So with every transition, we have to start somewhere. So with ClearBot, we started off with the goal of trying to replace these very old diesel-powered boats that are archaic, slow, inefficient, and sometimes even dangerous, with these intelligent, cleaner, and easy-to-operate intelligent boats. So this is, we already have 10 boats in operation in both Hong Kong waters and also in India. And we're able to automate a variety of marine tasks, including pollution recovery. So we're able to do anything from oil to weeds to actual marine trash. Interestingly, this is actually in our harbors, in Wan Chai Harbor a couple days back. And we are also able to do small-scale goods movement, and we're able to do surveillance. And in the past 18 months, we've already worked with some of the biggest tech giants in the world and in Asia. And we are also working with local Hong Kong government departments and their marine contractors to perform these marine tasks. So you might be wondering, how does this really work, right? So with ClearBot, we are able to limit the amount of manpower that is needed to do certain marine tasks. I might even argue that we don't really need manpower at all, which actually reduces the cost that is incurred during all of these operations. And we also are completely emission-free since we're completely electric. So not only are we better for the environment, we're also better for business. And during our operations, we're also able to create data that never existed before. With our onboard cameras, we're able to see exactly what the robot is doing, the locations that it's visiting, and create that level 100% transparency for our clients, which is then reflected in our ESG dashboards. So you might be wondering, what exactly does a typical day look like with the ClearBot and without one, right? So, well, it's actually 10 times cheaper for the operator and for the owners of, for example, property management companies and governments. And it is also a lot less complicated. So instead of doing 10 things to get one job done, we're able to do that in a fraction of time. And to make things even sweeter, there's a very big market for this. And we wanted to start off by trying to target marine contractors first, so that we are able to solve for the technical risks of using this disruptive technology. We're also solving for the market risk. And going forward, we want to scale up the size of the bots and the number of bots that we have, so that we're able to use it for a variety of applications. In terms of our go-to-market strategy, we started off with the short-term contracts because they're much more receptive to new technology, and this actually gives a pathway to transition for the big players like governments and even property management companies, for example. So if you want to get your hands on one, you might be wondering exactly how much does it cost. So we usually do this as a service, and we charge on a monthly basis. So it can range from anywhere from 3,000 USD to 10,000 USD, depending on the project specifications. And in addition, we've already made 750,000 USD worth of sales in just the last 18 months. We've scaled from one bot like in July of last year to 10 bots now. And we are also cash flow positive. And in terms of competition, we have already registered a patent for our object avoidance technology, and we are registering 2 more so that we are secure in that way. And we are also the early mover in Asia. There are not many competitors who are not involved with the military, so commercial adoption is much easier with us. In terms of our team, well, we are a very young team, which is why the technology actually works. And we all very young team. My CTO is actually somewhere in the audience right now. And we have an expertise in deep tech. And we are very passionate about doing something for the environment and to, push the industry forward. So what do we want from you today? Well, we want 2 things from you. So either in 18 months, we're hoping to raise our next round for 3 million USD. So we would love to see some of you at our cap table. With your industry experience, I believe that we will be able to scale much faster that way. And we're also looking for partnerships. So again, being industry leaders, we are looking for partnerships that will help us scale in a way in which we haven't done yet. That's all from me. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Okay, questions?
Sammy, great presentation. I really like the product you're pitching because it's multifunctional and it offers a different variety of services. It's actually similar to a bulk carrier which carries different commodities, so I think that's great. My question is around the boats being unmanned and with a focus on insurance. Please let me know what type of insurance do you take for an unmanned boat? And can you give an example that if the ClearBot collided with another boat and if there was a personal injury, how are these risks covered? Having them already working, what type of insurance do you take?
Okay. Thank you so much, first for the compliment and second for the question. I'll answer the first question. In terms of insurance, because it's a novel product, there are not many insurers who are willing to kind of take the risk. So we usually do it on a case-by-case basis, right? And right now we're also working with classifiers to get this more properly classified so that we're able to move that process along. And in terms of collision with other boats, so far, thank God, we've not had that yet. But usually what we do is, although it is autonomous, we also have operators on site. With every site, there is a certain amount of time it takes for the bot to get used to the environment, right? So we usually take the first month to do training within that environment, working with our clients. And we also have an operator on board just in case there's some issues so that they can move to the manual mode and make sure that there's no one injured.
Okay, so in terms of the operator, is it, for example, the client will know what they want to use it for. Are they trained to use it, or is it your own employees who actually control the bot?
Yeah, we can do it both ways. At the moment, there are clients that we are working with who we use our own operators for, and there are also clients that we train their people to operate the boat. To manually take control, it's actually really simple. I have no background in technology, and it took me 5 seconds to learn it. It's like running a toy car, so it's really simple. So we just train them as to how to maintain the boat and how to operate the boat in case of any emergency. And you can see the boat from the comfort of your office. So even if you're not on site, you're able to see exactly what is happening. And on the dashboard, there's also an alert in case there's an object in front of you.
Okay, great. I will, maybe later I would like to learn a little bit more on the insurance on this point, on who operates it and how that's covered.
I'd love to talk to you a little bit more.
Great, but thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Sammy.
Hi.
Great pitch, as Gautam's mentioned. I just want to clarify one thing. You mentioned you got a patent pending.
Right.
What is it you're actually doing, as in ClearBot? So is it the AI bit that's the patent? Because I'm guessing the manufacture of the boats and stuff is not something you're doing, or how does that work?
So everything we're actually doing from scratch. We manufacture our own boats, and all of our technology is also done by us. Again, CTO is right there somewhere. We are actually, the first patent that we're registering is for our object avoidance technology. So just to make sure that we don't collide into things. There's a lot of tech that goes behind it, so for that. And the two other patents are actually design patents, one for the procedure through which we, for example, collect marine trash, and the other one is for the modular design. So those are the 3 patents that we have.
Okay, and what have you found from your pilots so far? So what learnings have you found in those pilots?
It's been a very interesting journey. So theoretically, in our minds, everything worked a year ago. And as we were doing the pilots, for example, in the last year, there were a lot of extreme heat events as well. So that caused a lot of issues with the bot. But we developed better cooling systems as a result of it. So those are some of the issues that we came across, but nothing too major. We didn't crash into anybody. It's all good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And a little bit about the numbers. So you asked for $3 million. How long would that keep you going?
It should keep us going for at least 2 more years until we have to raise again. So we'll basically be investing that into more R&D. We'll be investing that into expanding to different regions as well, because that, as we are a hardware product, it requires significant amount of capital in order to be able to go into different regions. So.
And your valuation at 40 plus 40 times EBITDA.
Sorry?
You value the company at 40 times,
Yeah.
more than 40 times EBITDA.
Yeah. So I mean, we're already valued at 4 million, and when we last raised, we only had 10 bots, and the next 2 years or a year, we are hoping to scale that by quite a lot. So I think we're worth it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
On that note, so you mentioned, obviously first you're hardware-based, you potentially might need an operator on board as well. And in terms of the funding, obviously you are looking to have around a 2 years runway. I wanted to get a better understanding in terms of scalability. You mentioned you're looking at India and Hong Kong. At the moment, what is the capacity of the team to scale to that level, to 10 times the number you have at the moment?
Right.
And in terms of manufacturing, etc., obviously, where do you manufacture? How do you kind of diversify your risks in terms of that whole side of the operations as well?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for asking those questions. So I'll start with where we manufacture. So initially, we started manufacturing in China, but because of the whole COVID situation, things got out of hand. There were a lot of delays. So we moved the manufacturing to India. And in terms of how we are hoping to scale, I think the biggest market, at least right now, is India for us. So in terms of scaling, we have local partners, and we basically use them to scale to different regions in India. And as for Hong Kong, we have a strong team of 12. And our entire USP is that we don't really need many people to deploy these boats and to maintain them. So with 2 operators, we are very easily able to manage 8 boats. So if we are able to scale a lot, like twice the amount, we wouldn't need to hire a lot more. And that is kind of the goal as well.
Okay, and in terms of the growth numbers, attraction, the plan, what is the biggest driver that you see in terms of the contracts coming through? Are you, I've seen, you see the kind of funnel coming through, but, is the government contracts going to be the biggest driver, taking in the time that you will take to kind of obviously secure them as well?
Right. So in terms of process, how we work is, especially in India, which we see as one of the bigger markets, the government usually wants to see the product, right? So what we do is we work with brands that have broader ESG goals to sponsor one of the boats so that we don't have to take the brunt of all of the capital. And we put boats in the waterways so that the government is able to see them. This process approximately takes like 6 months or a little bit more than that. And we demo these products, we conduct pilots, and that's kind of how we got our start here as well in Hong Kong. And one of the bigger markets that we see is especially in hyacinth removal, which is a very big problem, and they're using like big excavators that are very dangerous. So that's one problem that we think we have a lot of traction in.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Amita.
Thank you.
Hey, Sammy. Thank you
Hi.
for the presentation. So I'll tell you where I'm coming from. So I see so many pros to using ClearBot, right? Like it's an easy sort of thing to want to use or consume, right? Whether it's an individual or a corporate, nonprofit organization, government. I'd love to get your thoughts on why you think, in this case, I guess the government, what are some reasons they wouldn't get on? And I can see insurance could be one thing, like navigating that may be a little bit new, but are there other reasons that you think other people wouldn't get on?
Well, it's a very new technology. Like, even though we are very confident in it, for them at least, it's a very new disruption and innovation. So it takes a little bit of coaxing and convincing to get them on board, and a lot of demos so that they can actually see this work. This is not one of those things that you can immediately visualize, right? So that's one of the biggest issues that we've had, which is why we are usually present in the areas where we want to expand, whether that's Hong Kong or in India. And sorry, was there another question that I'm not answering? Okay.
For me, also thank you for the presentation. I think it's an exciting product. I really hope to see lots of ClearBots
Thank you so
in
much.
the next few years. There's a lot going on in the world around autonomous vehicle,
Right.
shipping, etc. Japan, Scandinavia, US, etc. developing these. In your view, what is it that you bring that's going to make your product, ClearBot, win in that market? Is it the patents that you are now seeking, or is it the earlier mover advantage,
or is it your connections? What is it that you have that is special, which is going to prevent someone else to come and outspend and outbuild you in this market?
It's a little bit of everything, actually. The patents are there for the same reason, so we are able to hold that competitive advantage. We also have the technology, and because of the experience that we have, we are able to build an infrastructure that will be hard to replicate just because of the experience that we have. So it's a little bit of everything that we think will give us our competitive edge. And most of our competitors usually are in Europe, right? So they're looking at a completely different market when compared to Asia. And in India, for example, we already have partners. We're already getting things moving. So it'll be hard to kind of go through that same process and do it faster than us. So thank you.
Can I supplement your answer?
Thank you.
It's the age of the team, right?
Yeah. Yes, you can of course supplement my answer.
I can tell from experience, they're always someone younger.
That's it, I'm afraid, for time. Thank you very much, Sammy, again.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Sammy. Thank you, Yunsil, and thank you, Amit, for the first three pitches. I think following on from Sean's comment on age, I think the captain's table needs to get a younger team to manage the IT moving forward next year. But before we break for coffee and tea, in 2020, we started a showcase section of the pitch competition. And the reason we did that was because as the captain's table grew in reputation and in size, the quality of startups that applied to us also improved. However, unfortunately, due to scale, we were not able, and we are not able, to bring all the great startups to present them to you at this pitch during the finals. So we conceptualized the spotlight section, where we would like to showcase startups which we found interesting and had a lot of potential to you. So today, and now just before the intermission, we'll be showcasing the first two of our 4 spotlight startups. The first being Onboard Maritime, an online learning platform for crew and onshore professionals in maritime. And the second, Paleomon, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Paleomon Maritime, a hardware anti-piracy solution. And before I go, just a quick reminder, if you have your handphones on, please remember to switch them to silent. Thank you.
Onboard Maritime delivers online learning which gives you all the benefits of a classroom course, but with a flexibility which allows you to study when and where you want. Each course is accompanied by a structured set of online materials which are aligned to the syllabus you are studying. You will study in a class group. It's important you get the chance to engage with and interact with your peer group, and to facilitate this, our courses have a set start and end date to focus activities and enhance your learning opportunities. Where you live, your work pattern or family commitments shouldn't be a barrier to your progression.
I fight pirates. And I'm not talking about Captain Jack Sparrow. Every year, the shipping industry uses 86,000 kilometers of razor wire trying to stop pirates from boarding their ships, spending between them on average nearly $500 million. And it does not work. I'm Steve from Paleomon Maritime, and we've created a patent-pending anti-piracy safety fence. Simply, it's a plastic barrier that can be strapped to the side of a ship. It's got a big overhang that stops pirates from getting on board. I'm a former Royal Marines commando, and an expert in amphibious warfare. Since I left the service, I spent the next 13 years working in the commercial maritime sector with some of the biggest shipping companies in the world. During that time, they told me what they need, and that is a low-cost, effective alternative. And we provide that with our anti-piracy barrier rental service. Since launching onto the market in March last year, we have undergone sea trials with an international oil major who have since rolled out the system through their entire fleet. And we have a rapidly growing order book of shipping companies looking to make a positive safety change. We have a number of competitors on the market that sell anti-piracy barriers. They don't rent them, and it would be very difficult for them to try to do this. That's because their products are far more bulky, complex, and timely to install. I know this from all the customer feedback. So here is how our rental model works. We have our equipment stored in strategic locations outside of high-risk areas where ships frequently call to take on stores, provisions, or do crew change. It's during this time that we deliver our equipment, either via OPL or at port, whatever suits. Once on board, the crew then install it, taking them less than a minute per piece. They use the equipment for the high-risk voyage, and when they leave, they return the equipment in exactly the same way. We have a number of different rental options, including both short-term and long-term rentals, suiting either spot market or time charter ships. This rental model saves our customers up to 56% when compared to buying razor wire, and it gives our company an average of 70% net margin. According to the ICC, 96% of vessels attacked in 2022 were successfully boarded by pirates. Palaemon Maritime is the only company that can provide a viable, sustainable, effective alternative. Being part of Captain's Table, we were hoping to achieve two things. The first is to create awareness and find new customers that want to save money whilst making a positive safety change to protect their crew and their vessels. The second is to find suitable investors that might be interested in taking part of our next investment raise, which we're going to be doing in June this year. If you or if you know anyone who might be interested, then please email me at steve.regis@palaemonmaritime.com or reach out to the team at Captain's Table, who would be happy to make an introduction. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Well, I think you'll agree that was a fantastic first half. We're now going to take a quick 15-minute intermission for the judges to go off and start their initial deliberations. And I hope you will grab a tea and coffee and discuss amongst yourselves, because as Suyen mentioned earlier, we are going to be polling the audience as well. And those of you watching online will have the opportunity to vote. So we will return promptly in about 15 minutes. Thank you.
me and hold it.
You want angle? Oh, okay. Wow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So, you know why we're doing this, right? We want a picture with the winner already.
Okay, yeah. Unblock. One more, yeah.
Because thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, just to use the toilets. No worries. I went there, but I knew that. No worries at all.
But why is he not? You are not coming. No, we missed you at the last event. Yeah. What do you know?
Hello, test 1 2 testing。鋪點咪，鋪點咪，鋪點咪 L。
It's what? Testing, testing.
handheld 6號，handheld 6號，handheld 5號
Oh, I see.
，handheld 4號
Because I like Hong Kong.
，handheld 3號
For me, it's the best. How do you like it?
，handheld 2號
Thank you, Chris. Just
，handheld 1號。8號8號8號8號8號8號8號咪7號7號
That's the first I've seen this. Not sure necessarily. Although that would be fairly.
Really, that was fast. Was it just a game of like scissors, rock, scissors, paper?
We had a good round.
Yes, copy and see outside. Yes. Okay.
Very good round on the side.
Huh?
Very good round on the side.
Oh, do you need more than 15 minutes later?
really good actually. Nice to meet you, Marcel. Hi, nice to meet you. Yeah. I'm here for less than 24 hours. The boss talks to Yeah, definitely. It's a great event you guys are hosting. Amazing. Absolutely. Right. Let's see if they can bring the same energy. Hey, do you have a card? I actually have a digital card. That's the issue. You have a phone. You? Yeah. Thank you so much. All right, thank you so much. Will do. Thank you so much. Right. All right. I'm reading. I'm like,
If everyone could start to take their seats again, please, because we're going to resume in about 2 minutes. Thank you. Please take your seats.
Can we? Only because the iPad's been put down. Okay. You know, I'm just getting slightly twitchy now. Yeah, but, you know.
I know. Don't worry. Yeah, hold it. I don't want to mess it. Let me take my stuff off.
Is that our own restaurant?
Testing, 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 testing. Okay, if everyone could please start to take their seats, we're going to resume. Not yet, Jasper. Not yet. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We're going to be going live in a few seconds. All right. Jasper, are we ready? All right. Hold on, we'll just wait the last few. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we ready to go? All right, welcome back, everybody, and welcome back to our online viewers as well. We hope you enjoyed the first half and are feeling refreshed. As we move into the second half, we're going to see our final 3 startups for tonight. I would like to welcome up onto the stage Fabian Fusek, who's representing Kaiko Systems. Fabian.
Kaiko Systems, Germany, digitizes frontline work on cargo ships, focusing on the human element of shipping to help managers and owners to get better insights about onboard operations.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Ellie. Hi, everybody. My name is Fabian Fusek, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Kaiko Systems. With Kaiko Systems, we're digitizing manual work on board of cargo ships. And by that, we're turning frontline operations into actionable insights. Together with my co-founder, Eddie, I started Kaiko Systems in October 2020 to bring a standardized data set at scale to the maritime industry. We are backed not only by the young generation of ship owners, but also by experienced entrepreneurs and tech investors from Europe and the US. What's the problem we're solving? Today, on cargo ships, chief officers, safety officers, and all the seafarers still rely on outdated tools to maintain and manage their vessels. More often than not, safety officers and chief mates spend hours and hours doing heavy and daunting manual work on board of their vessels in any weather, only to sit down in their office afterwards and spend the same time or more to manually fill in reports, which are often Excel sheets, Word templates, or in the best case, desktop-based ERP and PMS systems that have quite outdated UX as well. And all of that while frontline work and frontline data is actually mission critical. And the shore teams and superintendents don't have it much better. They're often experienced seafarers themselves, and they really know what's going well and not well on board of these ships. However, in today's stack, they are drowning in noise, when actually all they need are clear signals that tell them whether their ships are ready or not ready for the next inspection and the next cargo. Companies therefore often face surprises, which not seldom turn into emergencies. over 75% of all incidents are caused by human error. We see ship managers spending 3 to 4 times as much on emergency maintenance versus what they could have spent on preventative maintenance. And therefore, many companies that we talk to have to deal with over 7 days of unplanned off-hire per vessel per year on average. Kaiko Systems is addressing these issues. And we're doing that with a product that is split into 3 components. In the first place, we are digitizing the workflows on board of the vessel. In the second component, we are visualizing all that information and data and helping ship managers to clearly and easily communicate between ship and shore. And as the third part, we are increasing the quality of that data and information by using advanced technology. But let's jump into the product a bit more. So we are providing a mobile-first solution, which, as I said, runs on a smartphone or tablet. These are mostly rugged on the vessel. And so seafarers can plan and document all their manual work with this application. That means for ship managers that, for example, for visual reports, they get the same picture perspective every time, and therefore can easily identify trends and analyze the actual vessel health. In addition to that, we make it really easy for our seafarers to report findings and incidents and also comment them in a standardized way so that at the end of the year, you can analyze your fleet and really know where your pain points and where your strengths are. In the second step, we provide fleet directors with trend analysis and immediate highlighting of findings. But we also cater to the need for auditable and consistent formats of reports, and so we help you create them with just one click in a customized way. For superintendents specifically, we provide easy to use and easy to access visual overviews of their vessels for them to get a real feel of the actual health of their fleet. And all of that is supplemented and powered by advanced technology. For example, we apply machine learning to do corrosion detection, to not only give you the subjective assessment of the seafarers, but also do an objective corrosion detection, which tells you just exactly how strong, for example, corrosion is on your vessel. For all the inspections, regardless of the use case, we do metadata analysis, which really tells you with what level of confidence you can work with your data. And if that level of confidence is low, you might want to ask again before you go into that port state control, just to make sure that you're really ready and you not encounter the risk of downtime and therefore off-hire. I already mentioned a few use cases. Pre-port state control inspections are relevant for most of the dry fleets out there. In addition to that, we also do visual hull and equipment reports, weekly, monthly, quarterly safety inspections as mandated by SOLAS and ISM, all your custom checklists, navigation checklists, and, which is a hot topic right now, especially for the tanker operators and owners out there, SIRE 2.0 preparation self-assessments. Kaiko Systems can be used in various ways, either standalone or through one of our product-to-product integrations with your PMS system, and even through custom integrations with your in-house built ERP systems. Today, I'm happy to share with you and announce that we're already working with hundreds of vessels worldwide across a diverse range of fleets, from smaller to larger shipping companies like USC, CTM, and even Columbia Ship Management. If you're interested in reducing the effort required for your reporting for both your ship crews and your shore teams by about 50%, and act today to reduce downtime and the risk associated with that for your vessels, then I'm happy to talk afterwards. Thank you so much for your attention.
Fabian, thank you very much. Captains, to you.
Fabian, thanks. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Great presentation, very clear on the problem you're solving. Can you just talk me through what's involved in putting your solution on board a vessel? And what dependencies, so what does it cost? What efforts required? What dependencies do you have? Can you talk me through some of that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for the question. And yeah, it sounds like you're really interested in knowing the details of that, so more than happy to jump into that. Rolling out Kaiko is as easy as it gets. The biggest hurdle we have to face is, and it sounds funny when you're from outside the industry, you have to get a smartphone or a tablet on board. Usually we're really the first one to leverage that mobile-first technology on board of a vessel, and logistics are sometimes quite difficult. But that's the only difficult part, actually. So what we usually do is we focus on one use case to start with. So for example, a pre-pod state control checklist that is usually already in place, or ISM-based safety inspections. We then take our templates and apply them to the specific vessels in question. So that is usually the GA and safety plan, so the general arrangement drawing and the safety plan, and then apply our templates and the inspection procedures to your vessels. We do that in less than a day per vessel, and for sister vessels, that's then even faster. We then set everything up remotely and basically only, as I said, send the device on board or help our customer send the device on board, connected to an onboard access point via Wi-Fi, or when there's no VSAT available, which still is the case on many vessels, use, for example, a global SIM card to ensure connectivity. And then there's a few more steps, for example, integration in your systems and all, depending on your need. So, but that's the main points.
Okay, got it. And what about, so obviously a lot of it's based on capturing a lot of images on board, right? And kind of documenting that. So how do you get all of that? That's a lot of data that you're getting off. So you mentioned there a bit about challenge. How do you get all of that back in a timely fashion and then use that for the other analytics you talked about?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question as well. So there's two parts to this question. One is, what is actually the data that we're collecting and what's kind of the variety there? And the other thing is about connectivity and how to get that back to shore or in the cloud. So first of all, yeah, a lot of it is visual based, since as you all know, your superintendents and your technical directors, they are very visual. They need to see and ideally even feel the vessels to know in what condition they are. So there's a lot of pictures in standardized perspectives, but there's also safety-related questions on the functionality, functionality tests, okay, not okay questions, all these types of information. And what we do is we capture all of these offline first. So even for a ballast water tank inspection, you can take your tablet or your smartphone with you, take all your pictures, answer all your questions in the middle of the ballast tank, and then come back to the bridge or to the cabins, connect to the Wi-Fi and upload everything. Our system then already compresses everything based on the strength of the connectivity. So if it's better, you have to do less compression, and then sends everything to the cloud. Even if the connectivity breaks in between, these are all the problems we figured out in the first, I would say, half a year, because that's actually a huge differentiator to what's currently out there in terms of connectivity between ship and shore.
Got it. Thank you, Fabian.
Thank you so much for the questions.
Fabian, great presentation. My question is related to your website, which mentions about off-hire. Is there any validation to reducing off-hire from 7 days to 3.5 days?
Yeah, thank you so much. So we have been, to give you a bit of a timeline, right? Like we started the company in October 2020. We then spent a bit more than half a year to develop the first version of the product and went live in summer 21. We then got our first full fleet customers in the winter of 21-22, and only in the last 12 months have signed up over 400 vessels to our fleet. So therefore, there's no statistically significant, analysis that we've done to prove that yet. That will definitely come in this and latest towards the end of this year. But what we've seen already is use cases and case studies that superintendents, as well as even masters on board of the vessels, have much higher confidence in the reports and the data that they're generating, and therefore are much more confident in going into these pod state controls. And we see that as a good secondary indicator that our system works and does its job. I hope that partially answers your question. I'll definitely forward you that report once we have it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fabian, thank you for the presentation. It seems to me you're in a bit of a crowded space. There are both some very big legacy providers of software for the ship management industry, and there are also a number of new incumbents who are working on this. I like what I'm seeing. It looks very slick, it looks very smart, it looks very easy to go to. But I also think it maybe looks very narrow but deep. And that if you are to make a real dent, you would have to sort of overlap with plant maintenance systems, procurement systems, inventory systems, etc., etc. What's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, thank you so much also for the compliments. You absolutely got it right. So I don't want to give away too much of our long-term strategy, because all of these topics that you mentioned will play a part of it. Not yet decided in what order, but many of them will definitely be covered, and many of them we will be able to cover much better than much of what's out there, because we're building a data set that nobody has, because it's the first data set that's really validated. It's the first time that you really know what's going on port of your vessel, even though it's on the other side of the globe, and 50% submerged in salt water. So regarding competition and legacy PMS and ERP providers, with many of them we have great relationships. And even though many also, tried or did publish something that goes into the direction of mobile first or inspector apps, our customers just realized that it's a difference. It's a step change in terms of data validation and ease of use, and that's really key when you're talking about, a ship that is rolling in the rain and so on. So we've been able to even partner with PMS providers that have a solution like that in place themselves because the customer just prefers it. And so for now, we're really partnering and integrating, and over time we will definitely add more value generating features to our platform and even other products that build on top of that. And in terms of whoever does what we does directly, we're just fast. We're rolling out, and customers like us. So that's currently what keeps us in the pole position.
And the business model, is that a subscription-based business model where you take a monthly fee per ship for the installations?
Yeah, so the installation is a once-off fee, and after that it's per vessel per month. It depends a bit on which use cases you're pursuing, but I'm happy to send over an offer later this week. I can't tell you too much more about that at this point, but it's a very straightforward model.
And where do you do the coding behind the scene? Is that done in Germany or somewhere else?
Yes. So we have an in-house development team. We only work with our full-time software developers. My co-founder and CTO, Eddie, is originally from a well-known South American country called Cuba, which faces some of the same connectivity challenges that the maritime industry faces. So he was able to recruit a development team that directly caters to these problems. And we're doing all the coding in-house.
Okay, last question for me, Fabian, is why in shipping and ship management, why not choose another market where the sort of the addressable size of that market might be potentially much bigger than, let's call it 60,000 ships? I mean, shipping is a relatively small market.
Yeah, great question. Let me answer that maybe by how we got to what we're doing. So before we started Cargo Systems, I was actually building more or less similar software solution for the real estate management industry, where we helped private landlords to rent out and manage their properties more efficiently. After that, I worked on projects on various kinds of industry, and one day basically stumbled into the maritime industry and discovered two things. One is that I really like working with shipping companies and ship owners because they just take a lot of pride in what they do and they take it very personal. So it's fun to work with this industry. And the other is that the timing is just impeccable. I think now is a unique time frame and window of opportunity to really change the industry fundamentally, as it has not been there since 13, 14 years. And so I think now is just an incredible time to be in shipping, as demonstrated by everybody here in the audience today.
Thank you, Fabian. So I got a couple of questions, right? So first off, I'd love to understand what is your North Star metric that you're sort of gunning for as a company? And then related to that question is, I'm trying to understand what trigger points you're trying to get towards to before you expand your sort of product line or features in the product.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sean, for these questions. So our North Star metrics is definitely the vessels that we have signed and live. So that is what the whole team and me are working for every day, to bring that product into as many seafarer hands as possible. Because the big differentiator of us is also we really bring value today. Like you can implement it right away, and it brings value to our customers. The second question is great. So we are actually already in the process of upgrading and like adding on new features. We always have a development timeline of the short term, which means continuous improvements based on our customer feedback. Then there's like a midterm where we address current challenges and opportunities, like for example, SIA 2.0 coming out this year. And then there's a lot more long-term opportunities that we're pursuing in our product development. And so right now, as we're speaking, we're having various initiatives to identify some of the topics that were mentioned and what we can bring to that table. We have a very strong team both on the business and the product side that is absolutely now capable of building that out, and we also have the capacity and bandwidth to do that. Still this year.
Thank you. And
one.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I'd love to get your views on this. So, do you see a world where you're the super app that connects to all the other systems, and you're the front end, and so ship managers only deal with yours? Or do you see ship managers still dealing with a bunch of different apps going forward? Or do you think that there's a role for another super app that which you will be the back end of and connecting to their front end?
Yeah, that's a great and interesting question. So I don't believe that there will be a one-size-fits-all solution where we are the super app for all our customers and that's it. But there will always be an ecosystem of taking over and sharing certain parts in that whole value chain. What I can tell you is that we are already today usually the first one to know when anything is wrong on the vessel or might go wrong in the future. And so that is kind of my view. So we want to be the interface between the ship and the shore, and that is the crew. And so that's what we're currently focusing on. I think after that, the question is just, where can we provide more value? And it's always a bit of a question of bundling and unbundling in software, right? Like in every industry. So I feel currently there's a lot of unbundling going on because you have all these like very broad, horizontally integrated solutions that don't go very deep in most of the cases. So we decided to go deep first and then, see where it takes us next. We definitely don't want to take over everything in ship management and the shipping companies because there are already solutions out there that do certain things very well. So for now, we really want to partner with everybody and just collaborate, at least on the software side already.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Justin Poggen from Tokwa, Belgium. Tokwa helps to accelerate decarbonization of the shipping industry by providing better ship performance models based on sensor data.
Thank you very much, Nelly, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm Justin, and I'm today representing Tokwa. Tokwa was created 2 years ago with a specific mission, which is bringing the fuel-saving potential value of machine learning to as many ships as possible. Today, the mission is exactly the same, because we believe that we can truly accelerate the decarbonization of the shipping industry. But when we speak about decarbonization, how do we see it? We see it as 3 different pillars. First one being the alternative fuel, which is a great solution, but we believe on the short term it won't be a reality. Then we are left with the retrofits and the operational optimizations. We decided to focus on the second one, so of the operational optimizations, because we believe that we can bring a whole lot more efficiency to this industry. We are an AI solution, but AI has become quite a buzzword lately. So we want to go back to the essence of AI, to take a step back. And there is a first rule, which is you should first try without AI. Because if you can achieve the same outcome without doing AI, then you should go for this solution. Because AI is complex, it takes resources and expertise. So let's see how we do today ship performance modeling without AI then. This is a typical speed to power curve that you all have seen, I guess, in your lives, based on non-report data. It's quite noisy, and it's very difficult to interpret. But actually, I'm not surprised. We have so many different secondary conditions out there that by collecting only 1 data point per day, it's just not possible to monitor it correctly. So, leaning forward companies installed sensors on the ship in the past 5 years to collect more data. And now, that's what we get. Problem remains. We have even more noise, even if we have data. And so, that's why we developed an AI, in physics-informed machine learning AI, taking into account sensor data, weather data, to remove the noise. Here is another view for AI. So, given a certain set of secondary conditions, imagine that you want to sail at 12 knots, then you will have this RPM, this power, and this fuel consumption. But it's a nice technological improvement, but it doesn't save fuel at all by itself, right? So how do we do this? Oh, no, first, sorry. I just want to say that we're not another dashboard. We're not an only one solution. We want to focus on the models because we believe it's complicated enough, so we want to do that right. So our starting point is the data, sensor data and weather data mainly. We do a health check, we develop our models, and then we send back our models via API to be integrated into existing solution. It can be into the WNI, especially for Pacific Basin in KC Maritime, for example, or into Wärtsilä here for Anglo-Eastern. But as I said, it doesn't save fuel by itself, But we believe that cheap performance models lie at the heart of all decision making in this industry. Therefore, the sharper the models, the better the decisions. So let's see a first use case, which is maintenance optimization. As we are able to normalize it to compensate for all different secondary conditions, we can isolate the fouling factor. And so we can go from a reactive maintenance strategy, clean when it's too late, when you observe it, to a reactive one. As you can say on a certain voyage, if you have your ship has been underperforming, then it's because of fouling. Then another application, we mentioned WNI, is the routing application. We observe that by using a better ship performance model at the heart of the routing algorithm, you are able to double the fuel savings. Because the better the model, the better the optimization on top of it. But then, what does that represent in total value? If we want to, if we reach our target, which is that 6,500 ships use our model by 2026, we would be able, on a yearly basis, to remove 25 million tons of CO2. It represents turning 25 million people vegetarian, or removing all cars in Hong Kong, in Shanghai, and in Singapore. But those are great targets. But where do we stand today? Today, I'm proud to tell you that we are currently rolling out our models for the whole Euronav fleet. We are proud that we have closed this deal because, as you know, Euronav is quite on the technological edge, and they benchmarked all different solutions out there, and they decided to move forward with ours. But why did they do that? For three main reasons. Firstly, we are focused on sensor data. We try to unlock the value of their sensor data. Then, we are creating a data edge. The more data we get, the more knowledge we get about a specific ship, and the better our models are for this specific ship. And lately, we are compatible with any solution. We are API first, so you can see our solution as a building block, as an improvement of your existing solutions. I wanted to finish this presentation by talking about our incredible team, which is a multidisciplinary team on many levels. We have shipping experts with generally 40+ years of experience in the industry. We also have physics experts and naval architects, experts. And we also have data scientists, people who know data very well. So why am I here in front of you today? Because I want to reach my target of reaching 6,500 ships by 2026. And I want to unlock the value of your data. So let's talk.
Justin, thank you very much. Captains.
Can I start for a change? Thank you, Justin. I want to ask two really quick questions, and I'll tell you my thought process. Right. Number one is who do you sell to? Who would buy? Who's your customer?
It depends a bit on the use case. Usually, like the easiest for us is to pay for the people paying the fuel. So then it will depend if the ship is on a time charter or on the spot market, because we enable you to save fuel and thus money, so that's our easiest sell point. But one of the use cases is also validation. For example, companies offering ESDs, we are able to validate the savings of their ESDs on an operational side, the operational side. So we measure the performance of the ship before the retrofit of the ESD and then afterwards, and so we can see exactly operationally how much they were able to save, and they can switch from theoretical savings to an operational savings.
Thank you. So my second question, before I share more of my thoughts, is what does winning mean to you?
Winning mean to me is
over the next few years.
Reaching my target of 6,500 ships by 2026. If we do this, I consider that we won in the short term.
Okay, good. So here are my thoughts, right? So I think that the space is tricky for a number of reasons. One, there are quite a number of players doing it, right? Nautilus Labs, Deep Sea, and whatnot. Number two, I think the even more difficult part is not that people are not convinced that voyage optimization works, but rather it's really hard to prove the control of voyage optimization, right? So because the voyage only happens once, whether it's goes through an optimization routing or not, it's hard to tell the actual difference, right? Mm-hmm. And therefore, the problem that comes with that, or the challenge that comes with that, is how would you be compared to your competitors, right? How would you get people to convert? So with that in mind, would you consider, given your goal is just to impact 6,500 vessels and more, I hope, would you consider a model where you work with existing players in the market that does voyage optimization, but they use your model on the back end, right? Was that something you would consider?
Yeah. So I have 3 things to say here. Firstly, about our competitors. We are aware that we have many competitors because there are people using the traditional method. We see trial curves plus weather correction. And as you said, Nautilus, Deep Sea, they are also using sensors. But on this side, we have 2 differentiation points. Firstly, we are using a specific kind of machine learning. So it's not a black box. We are using physics-informed machine learning, which means that within the learning architecture of our models, we embed physical principles and naval architecture rules, so that the models must always respect a certain physical reality. And then, as I said, we focus on the modeling. We believe it's complicated enough, so that's only our core focus, that's our expertise. And those players, usually, they are more an all-in-one solution, and they offer more things. Then, you mentioned if we would like to be integrated into other solutions. Well, I thought I had backup slides.
We can put them back.
No reason. I can just explain. That's actually our first step of scalability. Today, our business model is to sell to ship owners or to ship managers or to charterers on a specific price per ship per month. But the second step to scale is to be integrated within those solution providers. That's why we are doing a lot of partnerships. We're talking to a lot of routing companies like WNI, Naftor, etc., so that they can use our models at the back end. And in this way, we could scale in terms of quantity. And to compare, etc., that was the last thing I wanted to mention. Comparing different models is very complicated, and we always want to do it in a scientific way. That's why you can find on our website papers talking about the methodology that we use to validate the savings on the routing application and how to compare 2 different ship performance models. Thank you very much. Who first?
Age before beauty.
So, just explain me. So, it sounds a little bit to me that what we're doing here is that what you're offering is more sensor-based data connection, but not. And then, of course, we get real-time data and all these things, and we get nice graphs and so on. And that might be good, but it doesn't really show us what to do. It gives us more data. So you're offering real-time, sensor-based, more data flow. And then we have to look at the data again and see what solution stays to it. So because just in time and all the other things is of course not part of the package. That's the decision we're going to take ourselves still. So it's a data. It's another way of showing the data.
No, not at all. As I said, we don't offer beautiful graphs, as you said, because we're not a dashboard. But we are not providing either extra data, because we are using the data that you're collecting to do the models out of those data. And with our models, you can do prediction in order to optimize, for example, your existing routing solution. I don't know if that answers your question.
Justin, thank you very much for an interesting presentation. I think you're on to one of the big macro themes in shipping over the next 10 years. No matter what happens, whether it's taxation on fossil fuels or it's implementation on alternative fuels, there's one thing that's certain, and that is the price of energy is going to go up. And with that, the importance of making sure you operate efficiently and with a clean hull all the time. So I think you're onto something very, very important. I want to try and understand a little bit about the uniqueness of where you come from. You talked about the models and the coding, the mathematical models that you use. And I want to understand how that makes you unique compared to, for instance, companies like Wärtsilä, who, as you know, we work with, or StormGeo or Kongsberg, who are all massive companies, private equity backed, and who have got a lot of ambition and appetite in this space to win in this market you are talking about as well. So could you talk me through why it is that TOQUA is so unique that you can outcompete these other protagonists?
Of course, because there are 2 things here. Again, those huge companies, they are doing many different things. They are all in one solution, but as you said, they have the financial resources to do so. So I think that's great. But their models are what we consider as a generic model. They are based on sea-trial curves, and those sea-trial curves are made in non-reference condition. They are made in very good weather with only 1 or 2 drafts and very limited speed, right? But those conditions are very far from the operating conditions. But they still use those sea-trial curves to predict the consumption of a vessel given a certain set of weather data. And those models end up to be very inaccurate. We observe sometimes 70 to 80% accuracy only on the whole voyage, while our models can, we don't like to talk about numbers, but our models, and we're happy to prove it as well, our models enable you to have a 95+ accuracy on a voyage. I don't know if that answers your question.
Hi, Justin. Thanks for the presentation. I'm still not so clear on the cost benefit. So can you explain a bit more that the vessels have their existing software? How would you justify your added cost?
For the routing application, and that's what we're studying with Euronav, and we're going to publicly publish a paper with them in a couple of weeks. But we observe that if they want it on the routing application, if you want to go from A to B and you go a straight line, you do 0% fuel savings, right? But if you use a routing algorithm, and at the heart of this routing algorithm, you use a generic model, then you are able to achieve X% fuel savings. But by using our model instead of a generic one at the heart of the routing algorithm, the same routing algorithm, you can go to 2X% fuel savings. So you can double the fuel savings only by using a more accurate ship performance model.
Okay, so coming to your business model, then, talks to us about how many customers do you need, how much savings can they achieve in order for your business to be viable.
Exactly, and that's the last step of our scalability. Today we per ship per year, but then we want to go to value-based pricing because we believe that we can unlock a lot of value, but before going to value-based pricing, we have to prove that value that we generate.
Could you just explain what does proactive maintenance mean?
So yeah, it means quite a fancy word, right? But today, on a certain ship, how we do maintenance monitoring, we see on the voyage, the ship was underperforming. But then it's very hard to understand, was it underperforming because of bad weather condition, or was it underperforming because of falling? So you delay the cleaning because you're not sure. But as we are able to isolate the falling factor by compensating for all different secondary conditions, so wind speed, wave height, water salinity, water temperature, etc., we can isolate this falling factor. And so you can see exactly how much fuel loss you made because of falling on a specific voyage.
So your system will pinpoint what is the cause of the less optimized performance or whatever it is.
Yeah, and it will also pinpoint what's the potential savings of cleaning your hull today.
Shah. One last question.
Sure. I'm going to give. It's going to be another one on this because your whole presentation is based on that you're doing it better than everyone else. So how have you qualified that? Because you mentioned in your pitch about the baseline that you're you can achieve 5% savings against the baseline. What's the baseline, and how have you validated that?
So. Well, I'm not sure to understand the 5% savings compared to the baseline, but the baseline about, for example, the routing would be not doing any optimization. And then we compare it about like how we can compare to another solution.
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand, so compared to, say, other solutions out there, how much better are you? So against, kind of like straight line plotting, like you were saying, kind of like you're double better, but how much better are you compared to some other optimization? Like you're kind of saying your modeling's better. I want to know how much better is it against that?
Yeah. So I have two parts of the answer. Firstly, it's quite complicated to compare to other modeling technique because people do not want to go out there. They don't want to test their solution because they're kind of scared that they might be worse. But then how do we know we are better? Firstly, looking at our accuracy metrics and looking at accuracy metrics that others have published, we see that ours are better. And then, thanks to Euronav, that's our first validation. They're quite a demanding company, and they benchmarked more than 5 different modeling solutions out there. And after doing 2 pilots with us, they decided to move forward with our modeling solution because they considered it as the best modeling solution that they benchmarked. But that's definitely something that we are very open, and I'm talking to the whole audience here. We want to compare our accuracy with yours. And that's a win-win situation for you. If your current models are better, then stick with it. But then if our models are better, let's talk to see how we can unlock value for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Justin, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. And last but by no means least, I would like to invite Andy Wynn up to stage. He's representing Pure Emissions today. Thank you, Andy.
Pure Emissions is from the UK,
And pure emissions is an exhaust gas pollution capture technology that allows any vessel to meet the most stringent SOx, NOx, and particulate matter limits anywhere in the world.
Thanks, Nelly. Thanks. So my name's Andy Wynn. I'm one of the co-founders of Pure Emissions. And let me just say it is a long wait to be last on the bill. But we finally made it. So, as the shipping industry continues to reduce its impact on the environment and on human health, we're seeing ever stricter limits on the pollutants, on the levels of pollutant that can be emitted to atmosphere from our vessels. And we're seeing a growing number of emission control zones around the world. And at the same time, the industry is trying to decarbonize by exploring low and zero carbon fuels. But let's be clear, it doesn't matter whether you're burning high sulfur, low sulfur fuel, or methanol or ammonia. All fuels create pollution. Even ammonia, a zero carbon fuel, creates NOx and N2O. N2O is a greenhouse gas which is 300 times more powerful than CO2. So carbon-free does not mean pollution-free, or even greenhouse gas-free. So, if you're a shipping owner, so how can you continue to work in such a tightening environment and still remain cost-effective? Well, there are emission control solutions out there. They've been deployed for a few years, but they are expensive. They're difficult to operate. They're temperamental. And the worst problem of all is you need a separate unit for each type of pollutant on board that you emit. And the problem is going to get even worse because all the new fuels which are coming along, they create new and unique pollution environments that none of these technologies can deal with. So what's the answer? Well, if the shipping industry wants to meet its environmental targets, then it needs to do something new. And that's why we develop Pure Emissions, because Pure Emissions will change all of that. Pure Emissions removes all pollutants, all at the same time, and it works on any fuel. And it does it more efficiently than any existing technology. So you only need one Pure Emissions unit on your vessel, and it will allow you to meet the most stringent SOx, NOx, and particulate matter limits anywhere in the world. So how can it do this? Well, a secret is our nanocatalytic filter technology, which separates out the particulate pollutants, which are captured and reused in industry, from the gaseous pollutants, which is a NOx, which gets transformed by the catalyst into harmless nitrogen. Now, our technology is already proven on heavy fuel oils. It's already proven on diesel. It's already proven on LNG. Our technology is delivering performance levels on land that no marine technology can get even close to. In fact, our team have deployed our technology in over 100 industrial applications around the world. And our patent, which is granted this month, secures the engineering modifications required to ensure we can deliver the same performance on board a ship. So, as an example of what our technology can deliver for a ship operator, if you want to act in a seeker zone, sulfur emission control area, typically you're burning very expensive, ultra-low sulfur fuel, $1,000 a ton. With a Pure Emissions unit on board, you can use low-grade fuel, low-cost fuel, and you can still meet all your emission limits and a lot more. This provides millions of dollars of savings in fuel cost for vessels. And so for a typical mid-sized commercial vessel, that means payback in 6 months or less. So in order to deliver this opportunity, our team brings all the skills necessary. So Dave Bennett and Gary Elliott have been developing this technology for 25 years. William Sykes has been 40 years in marine engineering. My expertise is in the advanced materials of the filtration media. And with over 120,000 ocean-going vessels on our water today with inadequate emission control, and more than double that working in the inland waterways of the world, the opportunity is well over $100 billion. And here at the captain's table today, what we're looking for is our first customer to put this technology onto the water finally, so that we can continue to clean up our industry and the air we all breathe. Thank you.
Andy, thank you. Captains, your 10 minutes, please.
Yes, my first question was the solids you get out of this. What is it, and what do you do with it?
Okay, what is it? So it obviously depends on the composition of the fuel going in, but if it's a standard fuel with some level of sulfur, it'll be a mixture of captured sulfur in the form of calcium sulfate. It'll be a mixture of carbon soot particles, a few heavy metal particles. So what we do with it is, I said this technology has been around, we've been deploying this for a number of years on land. Now, the technology already exists of what to do with all that. And in, for example, in power stations, this is a very similar type of particulate pollutant which is captured. And that is used to make building products, a product that is called breeze block, if you're familiar with breeze block. Breeze block is used from, made from the fly ash from power stations. So with this technology, shipping can tap into that existing logistics around the world.
Hi, Andy.
Hey.
Thanks for the presentation. My question is, zero emissions is a big statement. How accurate are the emissions released from your product, and who's independently validating the emissions data? And my second part of my question is, have you worked or obtained any approvals from engine makers for use of your equipment?
Okay, so your first question is zero emissions. I don't think I said zero emissions. I might have said near zero emissions. The numbers depend on the particular pollutant.
Sorry, zero SOx, NOx, PM emissions.
Okay, so we can get out 95% of SOx, 97% of NOx, 99.9% of particulate. So this is data from on land, from all the applications we have, fully independently verified by third parties. They have to be.
Yeah, so who are these third parties?
Who are the third parties?
Who are independently assessing?
I don't know the answer to that one.
Okay.
I'd have to get back to my engineers for that.
Okay, and on the engine makers, are you working with anyone in the shipping?
We've talked to many of the well-known maritime engine makers, Wärtsilä, Yanmar, the Rolls-Royce, etc., etc. They all say the same thing. They all say, very interesting, come back when you have one working on a ship.
Okay.
I think one of the challenges we find is many existing companies have existing solutions that they're already tooled up for, and they're unwilling to start to try to change that. Even if something new comes along, usually these things happen because of regulatory pressures. That's what happened in the industry, in factories. That's why we deployed this 15, 20 years ago. The same is happening in the shipping industry. We believe the tide is turning, and this is needed now.
I very much agree. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, Andy. For me, you said this is already working in power stations. I want to know a little bit about how many power stations, how big this solution is in land-based applications today, and also how much, how much does the particles that you collect, how much does it weigh? How do you get rid of it? What do you do with it afterwards? And lastly, what's the maintenance required to operate your system?
Okay.
I mean, with filters, there is a risk of back pressures into the system, etc. I just want to understand a little bit about the technicalities around that.
There's a lot of questions in there, Bjorn. So the first one I think was, how many did we have? Yeah. Okay, so quantity and the physical size. So we have deployed, our engineering team have deployed this in well over 100 applications around the world. That's over, many are in and working for 15 years, some of them longer, 20 years, 25 years in some cases. Physical size clearly depends on the application itself. Some of the range of applications in industry, things like glass manufacturing plants have these types of units on the end of their emissions. Think of some others. Bauxite plants, we deployed these in. Quite a range. In terms of the size, often much bigger than we would be putting on a ship, and often multiple units. We'd put one on a ship. We have, I think I showed a photo of an example of a factory in Vietnam. That was a glass factory. There are 5 separate units. So the scale of what we've put in is far bigger in many cases than we would need to put on a ship.
And in terms of the technical functioning of the equipment, is it just a filter? Do you have to dose it? And how much do you collect, and how do you get rid of that?
Okay. So we inject calcium oxide, which is lime, standard chemistry procedure. That reacts with the sulfates. We inject urea to react with the nitrates over the catalyst. How do we collect it? It's the particles which attach to the front. These filter elements are in separate blocks, and there is a pulsed compressed air which periodically blows off the particles bank by bank, so you're not all going at the same time. So it's all working constantly, but we take out just a bank of filters to strip it and collect it at the bottom.
So lastly for me, who do you consider your biggest competitor in this space, or competitors, and how do you make sure that what you come with is a better, more competitive product?
Well, that's a good one, and I think we've had a number of conversations this week with people on that exactly. The biggest competitors right now are what I put up. They're the units which are on a ship. There's around 5,000 wet scrubbers on ships around the world. There's around 1,000 SCRs. These are the things that people are used to putting on their ship. Really interesting when you look at our industrial background. Wet scrubbers were kind of dead technology 20 years ago. No one will put a wet scrubber on a factory these days. How it got onto a ship, I do not know. So those are our main competitors. What is our compelling argument? I hope I showed our compelling argument, the level of performance we can get. We didn't talk about the low maintenance, far fewer moving parts, far less to go wrong. It's a 100% dry system, with a wet scrubber, whether it's closed loop or open loop. Seawater corrosion problems, constant maintenance issues.
Andy,
queuing up.
Good.
I just wanted to, I guess it's a follow-on from Bjorn's question there about competition. So you mentioned you're in 100 applications on land-based solutions, but there's a lot of, the reason those came about is because of changes for emissions so who are your competitors for land-based applications? Well, part one, and then part two, why wouldn't they try to come in the maritime space?
That's a fantastic question. So the answer is that there are quite a number of large industrial suppliers of air pollution control equipment. There's a number of names, but they have a broad portfolio of solutions. Now, when they need to put in our kind of solution, how they do that is they come to our engineers to design it. So they're not really in a strong position to compete with us because they don't have the in-house knowledge. It's our knowledge.
And do you have patents then for that? What's the patent that you said you're going to get granted this month for?
Our patent now, Pure Emissions is a new company specifically focused on the marine industry, and our patent is specifically for the engineering modifications to take all this chemistry and know-how and technology to engineer it for ship application.
Okay, thank you.
We've got time for one. So.
Should have been faster.
I'd like to understand a little bit on the cost side and the ease of retrofitting these on existing vessels. If you could share a little bit more, that'd be great.
Sure. Yeah. A key comparison for us is wet scrubbers. You know, that's our benchmark. That's what people know. That's what people are aware of, the costs, the pricing, and so are we. So against that, typically a wet scrubber would take about a month to install, 30 days or so. Half of that will be dry dock. Our installation is 2 weeks and requires no dry dock. So above just simply buying the unit, you also save up to $1 million on installation costs.
I rarely interject, but Priyanshu, I think you had a question.
No, it was asked.
Okay, fine, brilliant. Martin, then you can take the last one.
How much energy does it use?
It's very low. There are very few moving parts. You see, the filtration is static. You know, again with a wet scrubber, it's all pumps, pipe work, going up sea chests, all going around the large storage, pumping water. There's none of that. You know, there's a couple of injection points, and there's the compressed air pulse, and then there's the collection of the hopper at the end, and that's all you need.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Andy, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Andy. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you, first of all, just to give a really big round of applause for all our startups. I think they've done an amazing job today. For any of you in the audience who've done any form of public speaking, I'm sure you know it can be absolutely terrifying. And thank you for being such a supportive audience today. Second of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to our judges who asked some brilliant questions and I think gave our startups a lot of food for thought today. So thank you to the judges. Right. As we finish up, first of all, I'm going to invite Nelly to escort our judges off to their hidden lair down there to deliberate. So they're going to go away for around 15 minutes for their deliberation. Next up, what we're going to do, a couple of things. We are going to show you our final 2 quick videos from our Spotlight series. While we're doing that, we are going to prepare our startups for a short audience Q&A session. We will be moving around the audience to ask any questions that you might have. And once that's complete, we would invite all our audience members online to please visit the QR code, which Jasper, if you could put up. And also you'll hopefully be able to scan this in. There are some QR codes all around. We will be inviting everyone in the audience here, the audience online, to also place their vote. Obviously today the key vote and the finalist, the winner is chosen by the judges, but we do also have a small prize for the audience vote and the online vote at home, so it will count. So what we'll do now is we'll play the videos and then we'll come back in just a minute for any audience questions. Thank you very much.
Hello, Captain's Table Hong Kong. My name is Andy Oakley and I'm with ESG Energy. I'll be giving you a quick demonstration of the Marine Offset platform to show you how we enable the maritime industry to easily, effectively, and ethically neutralize residual emissions. On our right-hand side, you have a ship's emissions calculator. You can add as many ports as you like, select different speeds, and of course, add the different cargoes carried on board. Once you press calculate, you can choose the different emission factors, well to weight, tank to weight, as well as adding in other greenhouse gases. You can select the different cargoes to compensate, and our algorithms will also tell you the carbon intensity of the freight. Go select to checkout, you have all the voyage information here. Let's go find an amazing project. So we teamed up with a group of scientists to independently rate our projects. So we're going to take a look at the Manoa Red Plus project over in Brazil. As you can see on the right, 6 different metrics going into one overall rating. We share information about the UN sustainability goals it touches on, We share who else has purchased this project and also satellite data. Some of our projects also include a 40-minute walkthrough with our scientists. So let's go ahead and send this to checkout. We have a slider here in case you want to blend two different projects together and balance the price. Once you press fix, it moves into the order management system, and we also have a wallet in the event that you'd like to purchase in bulk and then offset later. Now, you can't neutralize emissions based upon estimates, so what we've done is we actually integrated with the voyage management system called Dataloy, and we're now working with DNV and a number of other ship tech providers. What I'm going to show you now is publicly available. You can find it on our website, esg-energy.com, and it's the public carbon ledger. So what we do here is we share all the information about the voyage and the project. And so this example, it was for peak project carriers, and this is all information directly pulled from the voyage management system. So as you can see, they were transporting windmill blades and aggregates from Motril, Spain, over to Goul. So we also include information about the ship owner, including the sustainability report and the climate pledges that they have made. On the right-hand side, you have the project portfolio, and this is the first in the Maritime Ministry. We showed the price they paid for the project. Moving down, map of the voyage, and then to show that you're avoiding, reducing, and then offsetting, we also include the different CO2 reduction measures on board. This was a small vessel, so it only had anti-fouling paint, but if you had made structures air lubrication, you can show that here, and on the right, you have sailing speed based upon AIS data. Now, quite crucially, what we also share with the public is the actual project. Now, this one actually wasn't rated, but as you can see, I personally went and planted those trees, so we're quite confident that's a good one. Thank you very much for your time. Feel free to reach out for a longer demonstration.
Ships and shipping are crucial to the health, livelihood and wellness of everyone on Earth. Without shipping, the world would come to a standstill. Shipping needs seafarers. These seafarers live and work far from their homes and families, in hazardous conditions and in harsh environments. Ship owners and managers strive hard to keep their ships and their crews and the environment safe. Tragically, majority of maritime accidents are caused due to human error. Are the managers doing enough? Do they have the right tools? Here, ShipArc.ai comes to rescue. ShipArc.ai has been designed to reduce risk to seafarers and environments using big data focused on 4 key components of International Safety Management ISM code. 1. Hazard reporting. 2. Continuous training. 3. Knowledge enhancement. 4. Motivation. ShipArc.ai allows the ship's crew to report hazards, complete trainings online, improve knowledge and skill, get awarded and get much more, all from the convenience of their mobile digital devices while optimizing work productivity. The precious data collected from the seafarers is showcased in a business intelligence dashboard, which lets the company management team take advantage of the real-time leading and lagging safety indicators, thereby allowing them to take early action. ShipArc.ai helps achieve your company's sustainability goals by making reporting easy and convenient, using artificial intelligence to identify and mitigate risk, bringing interaction between vessel and office to real time, creating engagement and ownership, using gaming to enhance training and motivation, focusing on crew well-being. Let's bring back our seafarers home safely. ShipArc.ai. Smart, sustainable shipping. For more details, visit www.shiparc.ai.
Okay, if I can ask our finalists to take a seat this time rather than standing in the hot seat, so to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got about 10 minutes of questions. I have got the better job here because I'm not running around the audience. Tabitha and Suyun have got microphones in their hands. So please, if I can ask you to think about some questions to pose to our finalists. As I say, we've got about 10 minutes. So who would like to shout first? Nick, I know you, so I can use your name.
Thank you. Hi, Nick from Greywing. And I've got a question for Yunsil from MOA. So I was trying to understand, because you've got a really low price point. I mean, it's 75 cents for each of your transactions. So I thought, well, how many parcels are being sent internationally, globally? By 2027, it's meant to be something like 256 billion packages. So that would give you a total addressable market of 192 billion. is my bottom-up calculation right, or is it incorrect? And if it is incorrect, which I suspect it is, I'm wondering, what's a bottom-up analysis of your total addressable market?
Okay, so yes, we are looking at logistics. So 75 cents is actually for our per API use. So we have identified for one API would address the DG, one API would address the taxes, one API would address like the EU chemical regulations. So we are adding more regulations to our database. So we don't see it as the maximum that we can charge per shipment would be 75 cents. Of course, we can provide more offering because there are very important regulations that are coming into place, and that's where we're going to be at edge in providing this extended knowledge of shipments. You don't want to ship anything that's illegal, and once again, our target audience is the logistic by air and sea, but also at the same time, we do speak with a number of manufacturing companies and any companies that are shipping anything internationally. The shippers themselves are also concerned with filling out the right declarations to make sure that they're also economical in terms of filing for taxes, right, when they're shipping goods.
Sorry, how big's the market? How much could your company potentially be worth? Is it going to be 192 billion? Is it, kind of a multiple of that? Where does this go if, it's 75 cents a pop?
Okay, so to give you a realistic figure, when we work with let's say the large MNCs, the larger companies, typically they're looking about, they ship millions a month, right? But they're not going to start using us and screen the entire shipment. So our starting package goes around about 10 to 40,000. For the compliance officers, they're typically searching about 1,000 plus. So that's our unit of our selling points at this moment. Of course, once there's a proven case, they see that it's useful, they can just scale up and purchase another APIs and going through the same records and same structure. Yeah, so yeah, I think you made a pretty good calculation there. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you very much. Other questions, please?
Hi, I had a question for Yunsel as well. I understand that one of the aims is to capture misdeclaration by the shippers. So what source is being used to capture this? Because if it's a misdeclaration and you're using the same data, how will it find the error?
Actually, there are two types of misdeclaration. So one is shipper completely lies. They pack, let's say, a pack of batteries, and they say it is not battery, something else. Another type of declaration, which accounts for actually the majority, the 90+%, is that they will say, for example, this is let's say, power bank, right? But they will not say. They'll kind of say it in another descriptive language, and they will not declare to the logistic company that this is in fact a DG, right? So that becomes a problem to the logistic companies because if, let's say, some accident happens, touch wood, then insurance or other companies, other regulators may look at, hey, you knew it's inside the invoice or the manifest or the packing list, but unless you have compliance officer reading through thousands of documents a day, how are you going to catch them? It is your liability in the sense that you had the information, but you didn't act on it. So that those 90% of these type of misdeclaration where they told you what it is, but they didn't declare and pay the DG fee, these are the ones that you have to catch.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's very helpful.
Thank you.
Hi. Okay. Hi. This is for Andy from Pure Emissions. Yeah, being last is not really bad. The presentation is pretty fresh here. So my question is, your product is like a silver bullet for kind of all emissions. I understand that. But like you yourself said, the challenge is to get the first owner on board to put the product. Also, your other challenge is that the manufacturers, the engine manufacturers have not really come on board or given any sort of certification. So how would you convince owner to put a product on board when it can have impact on his main engine, which the impact would be in terms of dollar would be quite high? So what is it that you're doing to?
Okay, great questions. A number of questions in there again. I think our numbers stand for themselves, I believe. In terms of performance, people cannot argue us against us. Pricing is very competitive and of great benefit to them. Where we feel we will get most traction is where there are impending legislation, new seeker and eco zones coming in, where things like the Mediterranean, there's a new seeker zone coming in 1st of January 2025. So solutions are required. And I like your silver bullet analogy. Maybe we'll brand it silver bullet. Thank you for that. So I think where ship owners had limited choices in the past, they have a new kid on the block. And I think simply we are here to gain exposure, and thanks to the Captain's Table for offering us that. We've already had a number of conversations because of this, before this event, so I hope we'll have further afterwards. But we believe there will be traction from those areas where new seeker zones, new eco zones are being put in, new tier 3 NOx is impending, and also, since one of our key competitors, incumbents, are wet scrubbers, we know we talk to a lot of companies, a lot of shipping companies are really not happy that they were duped into building wet scrubbers on their ships. But we're also seeing areas and ports around the world that are actually starting to ban wet scrubbers. So we're going to be in there straight away. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Also, one question is to Andy, that about your filter, is that also applicable to CO2?
See, the beauty of, so the short answer is, it's not set up to do that. One of the reasons we can make the claim we can solve any pollutant, any fuel, is because the nature of the nanoporosity inside the filter. We can put any catalyst or blend of catalysts we choose. So we can really, any pollutant that can be decomposed by a catalyst, we can solve that problem. CO2 is a different thing. So it's really interesting. We have had a number of conversations with carbon capture companies who are doing the CO2 bit of it. And what we discovered was a lot of these CO2, these carbon capture units on a ship or in industry, actually their technology is poisoned by SOx, NOx, particulates. So actually they need something at the start of it to take out all the pollutants. So we see a really interesting opportunity for us going forward of combining our technology with carbon capture as well.
Thank you. Good evening. This is for Kaiko Systems. Just the entire system is based on the human interface. So you're going to be relying on somebody using the cameras on board, on the iPads or whatever you have to take pictures and report. And considering the fact that the crew might not give the right information, how reliable would you say the system would be based? Because input is again coming from the human. Instead of filling in a checklist or a paper form, you're just making it digital. So then how does it make it safer?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. I think the question was, since we're still relying on the human element and the human input, how do we make sure that the data is reliable, correct? So first of all, what we have identified is that the human factor is not going away. And second of all, that currently nothing is done to increase the quality of the human labor. So what we're doing is acknowledge the first fact and change the second one. You know, like, seafarers will, for the foreseeable futures, do that work on board of the vessels. So we believe that may that be a cadet or a safety officer that is on the vessel for the first time and maybe lacks the experience, or a very experienced chief officer that does the job for 10, 15 years. What they both need is good tools to empower them, and so we make it easier for them to do a better job. And in the second part, we also verify that they did a good job through various means of metadata collection, metadata analysis. So we measure the input, measure the effort put into the manual work, and can therefore verify that jobs have been done with the required level of diligence and effort, and therefore reduce a lot of risk of all of that. The second part is we give guidance on the job. So instead of just giving them a 1,000-page training manual or training lessons, which are also important and useful, of course. We give them the necessary information that they need to complete a job while they're doing the job. And by that also we take a lot of guesswork out of the equation. So by no means we're taking human error 100% out of the equation, but I think we're doing what is long overdue, which is provide these people with good tools to enable and empower them. I hope that answers your question. And we're, by the way, not saying that we won't work with automated data collection in the future. That can and will definitely be a building block of data collection. But we just focus on the thing that has been not so much in the focus for the last years. Thank you for the question.
Yeah. Hi. Sorry.
And then I've got a couple of online ones.
Question for Sami. Since your bots are not always going to be operating in very calm waters, do they have any protection against capsizing? Do they have self-righting abilities of some kind?
Thank you for asking that. At the moment, we don't. We have been able to operate in Typhoon 3 in Hong Kong, if you're familiar with that kind of rating. And we actually had no issues with it. The bot is designed to be able to handle turbulent weather. But when we don't really do open water missions, at least not at the moment, when we do end up scaling our bot to make it a lot bigger, it might be more feasible to do open water missions. So at the moment, that is not really something that we're having to deal with. And to the extent that we have to deal with it, we've already taken the precautions necessary.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. This is also for CleanBot, Sami.
Hi.
Part of my question is related. It's a kind of a follow-up. I was going to ask you about the scale of your bots right now. From the images, they seem to be quite small. So if, say, for example, they are hired for trash collection from the harbor, how much is the trash that you have collected, and what's the plan for your scaling it up?
Okay, so to begin with, just to give you an idea of how big it is, or how small it is, however you want to define it, it's 3 meters in length and around 2 meters in terms of width. But the size of the bot actually does not really matter as much as how much it's able to collect, right? And the way that it works is that there is a conveyor that you probably will not be able to see in first glance because it's under the hood that transports, in the instance of trash collection, the trash from the water level to a storage barge, which can be customized to whatever size that you would like, as long as you're able to fit it onto the boat. So we have different sizes for that, and depending on the volumes, we just amend that. We are able to carry 200 kgs with the current bot, but when we do scale it, we will be able to do a lot more. Now, the exact capacity that we will be increasing is still under the designing process, so I probably will not be able to answer that, but I'd love to stay in touch and probably keep you in the loop.
Thank you.
Yep. Then to me, that's fine.
Yeah, Sami again. 2 questions. Ambition level with your product. Are you going to go from trash collection, and I'm sure you're thinking of ship supplies, deliveries. What next is on charts with the 3 million that you're trying to collect. The other thing is, what is the regulatory framework you're operating under? What are the kind of rules that apply to your bots in the harbor?
Okay. I couldn't hear you very well, so I'm going to fill in the blanks here. So
I could repeat my question if I was not loud enough.
Sure.
Okay. What is the ambition level with your product? Right now it's trash collection. Are you thinking of deliveries to ships in the harbor or anything else? Are you trying to install some more machinery on your bots in the future? Do you have a vision for doing more than just trash collection with a bot? And the second thing is, what is the regulatory framework you're operating under for this autonomous harbor vehicle? What are the rules that apply to it?
Okay. With regards to the emissions, because we're completely electric, we don't really produce emissions, but I will admit that there are indirect emissions, especially when we use the grid to charge. right? So right now, in the next 6 months, we will be releasing commercially a docking station. We'll be piloting it, which will use solar charging to charge the bots automatically, in addition to being able to take out whatever we collect when it comes to the trash collection angle. And with regards to how we see our future going, we see ourselves as an electric boat and an intelligent boat company, right? We started off with trash collection, sure, and that was our inspiration, but we are also able to do, for example, goods delivery. We're able to do surveillance. We're also venturing into biometric surveys as well, dredging, and we also do a lot more than just trash collection. We do pollution recovery in general. So we're able to collect small-scale oil spills. We're able to collect invasive plants, for example, which is a big problem. So going forward, as we're able to scale, we'll only be able to improve and kind of diversify more. Our experience has been, in terms of just the use cases that we apply to, we don't really have to make many changes to the existing infrastructure to be able to apply the same bot for different use cases, right? So it makes it a lot more modular, and which really helps us scale. And I hope, did I miss a question?
No, pretty much there.
Okay.
What I really meant was when I asked for regulatory framework,
Yeah.
what are the rules in the harbor
yes.
that apply to your machine?
Yes.
Yeah.
So because it's definitely a new technology, there are smart boat regulations, but they don't really, it's not very well defined. And there are certain countries that are making headway, especially in terms of the autonomous side, for example, UK, but they're still assessing it on a case-by-case basis, which is why we are going through compliance, and we are redesigning the boat completely in line with Lloyd's register and like the compliance standards that exist today, so that we will be able to very quickly transition and comply with the existing regulations, but that's still under development, so nobody knows.
Good luck with that.
I think we've got time for one more in the room, and then the two that I've got online. Yeah.
Okay. So my question is going to be BiTech, right? Am I pronouncing it correctly? BiTech, right? Okay.
Yep.
So my questions will be: so now you are tracing the data for carbon emission. So since you get all the data, do you have a plan to also thinking about like using the data to do the operation, like optimization, cut costs, help the company to save monies, and also, for example, like predictive maintenance, these kind of things. Do you have a plan to work on this? And the second is that since the carbon emission now, you have the data already, do you have a plan to think about like carbon trading, like the certificate that we see today? There's something to huge opportunities. So, yeah.
I think the short answer to both your questions is yes. We have been able to do that in another sector, which is the logistics sector, where we've been able to save using the algorithms, the ML algorithms that we have built on, and which kind of works on the engine data, the road data, the weather data, and has been able to save quite a bit, about 6 to 8% in terms of operational, and also about 6 to 8% in fuel as well, which means that overall emissions has come down. That is one part. So same algorithm, set of algorithms would work on the marine side as well, because the physics of all the calculations are going to be the same. You've got engine load in the engines in vessels. The same thing happens on the logistics side, engine load, RPM, and so on and so forth. Right. Obviously, the whole idea about this whole initiative is to for companies is to measure how much your carbon you are saving, emissions you are saving, and which can lead to carbon trading as well. And that's something that we are working on right now.
Thanks.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, Chris, very quick answers
very quick.
to quick
I
questions,
think
please.
I can feel the
judges are having too
they're
much
coming
fun
back.
in there.
So the final
Being very
question,
rowdy.
the final question actually is for Tokwa. Justin, that's come through online. What is the advantages of using an API? Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, the advantage of using a... Yeah, it's not working. Okay, better
Yeah,
like
that's
this.
better. Perfect.
Like this.
So firstly, the choice of going for an API is that we believe and we observe that ship performance modeling is a very tricky thing to do, especially because of all the secondary conditions causing the noise of the graph that we just saw. And so that's, I would say, we chose an API first approach, firstly because we wanted to focus. We wanted to have a core focus on the models. And then the API approach, on the other hand, it's more like a business approach as well, a better business approach according to us, because shipping companies today, they have well-established solutions that they won't change. And even if you wanted to change your solution, this would require a lot of time, it would be resource consuming, etc. And so that's why we wanted to just replace one small piece of the puzzle to not compete with all those well-established existing solutions. So I hope it does answer the question, but I guess I won't have the answer.
Well, accept that as a nod from our online questionnaire. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
so
everyone.
we've got, before we hand, and if I can ask you to stay where you are, and before we hand to our captains, thank you very much for coming back in. We just thought we'd share with you the results of the online vote.
Last chance. Has everyone in the audience taken their vote?
And if not now...
All right, so just to say we're going to announce the online vote, which is a poll from our audience and online.
Please
audience
vote
here.
now.
And then
10 seconds.
And then we will announce the judges' vote and let everyone know what's up for grabs.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, voting's closed.
Is it showing?
Oh, no.
Oh, but it doesn't show. But it doesn't show here.
No, can we see if we can share this? Oh, look at this.
And the winner for the online vote and the audience vote is Kaiko Systems.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Have you got it? Where is it?
And the audience favorite gets a bottle of champagne.
Which you now have to share with the rest of us, but that's fine.
Yeah, no spraying it among. It's not Formula One. And we also need.
All right. Okay. Now, now that we've found out who the audience favorite is, it's time to announce who the judges' favorite of this year's captain's table is. With that, can I just invite the judges' representative Shah Irani from Fleet Management on stage, and may I at the same time also invite Pamela Lee. Pamela Lam. Sorry, Pamela.
Is Pamela in the audience?
Is she here?
Pamela, she might not be here at the moment. Okay, all right. Well, then I think we will take the executive decision. Is Peter Murphy in the audience? Peter Murphy from HFW, our gold sponsors. Jasper, can we get the prizes so we can remind ourselves what's at stake for the winner today? All right, so we will leave you two up here to make the announcement, but just a reminder of what's available for our winners today. We obviously have the cash prize of $30,000 US, and thanks to HFW, the winning startup gets £25,000 of legal advice. We also have £5,000 worth of legal advice for all the runners up today, along with support from Lloyd's Register, support from all of our mentors and our judges, and I'm sure support from the shipping industry. So with that, I'd like to hand over to Shah.
Thanks, Tabitha. On behalf of all the judges, first of all, we'd like to say thank you for all the time and kind of great presentations we've had from all 6 of you. Genuinely, it was a difficult decision to come to, but our kind of selected winner is demonstrated a solution that is innovative, that makes a difference to the environment and has a broad application. So our winner for the captain's table is Clearbot.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much, everybody. Well, thank you very much, everybody. That's absolutely fantastic, and a huge round of applause again for all of our startups that took part today.
As we always say, every startup on stage today is a winner. So congratulations, all of you, and thank you so much for participating in the Captain's Table. I think before I hand back to Tabitha, I just want to remind everyone again, 16 November 2023, that's the date for you to remember. And if you have any startups or innovators that you wish to refer to the Captain's Table, please do send them our way.
So many microphones. I think this one's a little better. I also want to just encourage you all. You've heard some great stories here tonight. I'm sure a lot more of you had questions. We will be providing all the contact details for the startups to the guests that attended. If you'd like to get in touch, you can talk to them obviously tonight at our celebration party. But please do reach out, and I really hope to hear more partnership stories and collaborations next year with all of these startups. So what we're going to do now is a little bit of housekeeping. For our guests in the audience, you've been very patient. We are going to be crossing over the road, over the courtyard, over the prison yard, to Between Coffee, which is in JC Contemporary Gallery. So if you head over there, the second floor, we're going to be having a fantastic party with all the startups, our judges, our sponsors, and our guests. Coming from the industry, and we will have lots of food and drinks, and of course our Chinese New Year lucky draw. But in the meantime, we are going to actually have some photos with the judges and obviously the startups. I don't know, the judges seem to have gone on the run.
The champagne is for the winner.
Yeah, they've gone to find more champagne, I think. Okay, so first things first, we would like to invite all the startups to stand up, so we can have some photos with them, and the judges, if you could come forward as well. Nelly, Chris, could you please come to the stage as well? A special thanks to Nelly and Chris, who've really facilitated this as well today. Thank you so much. Oh.
Just have to say quick 1 or 2 words for the... Okay. I just say it here? Okay, fine. Hi everyone. It's been a fantastic day. Great job by all the startups. But none of this would have been possible without the organizers of the Captain's Table. They've done such a fantastic job, and we really appreciate all the effort that's put into it. So if we can give them a big round of applause and thank them for Well done. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
No, well done. Well done. It was great.
Thank you.
It was great. Well done. Well done. No.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well done. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Oh, wow, we all get something now. Excellent. All right. So sorry, audience, if you just bear with us, we're going to do some photos, but please also feel free to go over and get some drinks and canapes while we do a few photos. I believe that Sean, where are you? Sean, one of our sponsors would also like to present a little gift from the China Merchant Group to our startups as well. So he's going to be presenting that to them. And as I said, you just have to cross the courtyard. It's very easy. I don't expect anybody to get lost. Follow the sound of the music and the drinks and the canapes, and we'll see you there very shortly. Thank you.
Right.
All right. Let's do photos then. Thank you.
Well done. In the background. So, is it photo time? Okay.
I'm not sure the background of the prison is necessarily a good photo.
Oh yeah, can we change the...
Is that where we're off to next?
Fantastic.
No, come on. Yeah. They all work so hard on it. And,
yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right. They deserve a recognition.
Yeah. Come.
Just to say, the venue is called Between Coffee. It is across the courtyard in the other JC Contemporary Gallery. So you can't get lost. Downstairs and across the courtyard, and we'll see you there on the second floor. Or you can wait for us and we'll take you over. Startups, actually, maybe just sit down, because then we can do 2 rows of, yeah, thanks. Like a school photo. Congratulations. What, sorry? All right, a candid one, a fun one. Nelly, one more. Yeah, where's the champagne? Okay, on the count of 3, everyone just say captain's table. That's as relaxed as we get for maritime, yeah. All right, Jasper, can you put the directions up on the screen, please?